Welcome to the candy shop. Grant Casaluza's here. Catfish is here.
Grant.
But this is a fucking Mike Hinkens interview. And if you know anything about these two, they don't smoke, they don't drink, but they eat a lot of fucking candy. So
that's the funny thing about this is like most of the people that come in here smoke, and Grant came in here, and Mike came in here and said, "Where's the nearest candy store?" He wanted to be loaded up.
It's the same place that you buy beer, though.
Walgreens?
Yeah.
Right up the street.
I did not know that.
You don't know like where they sell beer. That's interesting.
They don't sell beer at Walgreens in Wisconsin.
Yeah, in Wisconsin they don't.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just local.
Oh shit,
laws,
you're blowing me up over there, Catfish. I'm number 2. You good now? Put me at a little bit more. There we go. I'm hot.
I've known about Mike Hinkens for like a million years because he used to be the dreadlocked warrior.
That's right.
The emo king.
Yeah, I had the
Midwest
bandana out the
legend.
back pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
fresh.
hot.
Take us back in time. Where the fuck are you from?
I'm eating too much candy.
All right, actually, that gives us a second to do this. Skibbity bop a doo bop a doo bop ba. The Come Up TV.
A minute 10 after we started recording.
We're still in here though. The kids love it.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder who's listening to this. Like anybody old enough to remember me?
Yeah, you'd be
Oh, yeah.
surprised. This is
Don't
going to
worry.
bring people out of the woodwork. That's why I love doing these, especially
people you
mid school
went to
guys like
junior high
you. You got stories.
Yeah, I'm from Wisconsin. I grew up in Milwaukee. Well, a suburb of Milwaukee, kinda. It's like across the street, West Dallas. So all my homies at home would be like, "Oh, we're from Dallas, bro," and yeah, that's where I'm from, I guess.
Hotbed for BMX.
Yeah, actually, I would say that 80% of
Men ride bikes there? Ride BMX?
yeah, 80% of the BMXers that you've seen out of like Wisconsin, out of Milwaukee scene, actually grew up in West Dallas.
Okay.
I mean, it's like I wouldn't say suburb. It's just right next to it. You know, it's like you cross the street, Milwaukee, West Dallas. It's just
Was it
kind
like
of a white
suburban upbringing?
Nah, it's like a white trash, blue collar neighborhood. Just
Okay.
like, you know, normal people. A lot of jocks in my high school, and there were like 4 black people in my high school. So it's like a pretty
You ever have
whitewashed.
sex with any of them?
What?
You ever have sex with any of them?
No, never.
No? That's weird.
No, they're all dudes.
That's racist.
Jesus.
And homophobic.
Why is Milwaukee or that whole area, do you think, such a hotbed for BMX when the weather is so shitty?
Interruption? This is the mystery flavor airhead.
What could that be?
I'm going to find out. It's called the white mystery.
It's probably cum.
That's what they call me as well. I know. I thought about it.
The white mistress, they call you.
Yeah, the white mystery.
They call me
Haribo.
Gold Bear. Gold Bear? I don't
Let
know.
me get one of those. Let me get one of those.
They're kind of stale, man. They aren't up to stale.
That's
Are they
okay.
really?
But you got the good colors, yeah.
That's crazy.
Talk to me about Wisconsin. Talk particularly your neck of the woods, because you're at Four Seasons Skate Park, obviously.
Yeah.
But there's so many good riders that have come out of that area. Why? Why is the scene so awesome?
I've actually pondered this. I think, I mean, this is total speculation. I think going back to like when I started riding, it's a blue collar, kind of activity. Just like, a lot of guys I grew up with, just, their dads ramped off of shit, like, oh yeah, my dad jumped off of that. And actually a couple dudes that we grew up with riding, like, their parents were like in the racing scene in the 70s. And like this guy, Joe Went, like, who's like also like from Dallas. His dad rode before him and gave him a bike, but I'm talking like rode in the 70s, so I never met him or knew him. But so I think it's just kind of like from that era of like the 70s and 80s, like motocross was really big up there. And yeah, I think then, I don't know. I mean, Seasons wasn't around at first. I mean, when I started riding, the closest skate park was the Pit, which was like 90 miles into Rockford, where like Dirty Dan and Garrett Rapper from. And so the first dudes I started riding with, they had already been riding parks, but they were traveling to go ride parks. And then when I started riding, I was just young and broke, so we rode street. And the kids I grew up with, I think they all started riding street because that's all we had.
Give me a year when you actually started really like riding freestyle, though.
95.
Oh, kind of cool. So
How'd you
riding
get
street all the
started?
time then was rare.
Was that?
This was kind of like before riding street all the time was a normal thing. Because this is before Don't Quit Your Day Job, the Animal
Yep.
Video, etc. It was way before all that, actually, like 5 years before.
I mean, on one hand, it's easy to paint history as like, I was a street champion. But the reality was, I just rode a lot of street because I was broke.
Yeah.
And there was no skate park, and I didn't have a car. So I rode what was down the block. But we dug trails. I mean, trails is, a kicker in the woods. Or we wanted to ride park. There was a skate park in Milwaukee in the 90s. Like, it closed. It was called the Turf. And it was, like, very skateboard-esque. I think if you watch some of the Bakos, like, Fryman's got clips in there on, like, a metal mini ramp. But they had these there's a legendary bowls which were buried when they closed up. And just the other day, they actually excavated them because they were doing some construction. And kids, like camped out, like skaters, and, like, save the turf. And they, like, stayed in the bowl to, like... But it was kind of lame because the skaters in Milwaukee are dickheads, so I can't really get behind them.
But riding BMX on an archaeological dig sounds kind of cool,
I mean,
you know?
And it was like a block from the house I used to live at with, no, I didn't live with you.
Wait, the skaters are dickheads?
In Milwaukee, yeah.
Why, just because of skate park stuff?
Yeah. Which comes later in the story of BMX in Milwaukee, which I can tell more on that one. But yeah, like, we,
Last Airhead, by the way, was like my sixth
damn,
one.
you're going ham on
You
those
are
air.
serious.
You gave me a box. You got your candy. I got my candy. I'm going hard.
As Grant dives into the Kit Kat minis.
A moment on the lips, a lifetime on the hips. This is a new year. This is a new man.
I know, and I said I was going to start eating healthy again for 2016, but then last night I ate a bunch of candy. Today I got a bunch of candy.
We'll do cardio later.
No, it was, I started riding the street. I remember I had a Dyno Air with the mags. It was a
Hell
94,
yeah.
you know,
Hell
I
yeah.
remember it. And I had thread-on knurled GT pegs. And I was like, oh, grinding is cool. So I went to do a feeble grind, and it snapped my axle immediately and, like, destroyed the peg. And I thought, I'm never fucking grinding again. This is stupid. So I fixed the axle, and I started riding, like, the dirt jump, you know, down the street. And I got bored with that, and then we ended up going to the Kmart ledge, you know, and it was just, you know, like a ride-on, 10-foot-long strip of angle iron, and that was where it started. And I think I kind of got addicted right away to, like, this, like, concept of just doing whatever the hell you want to do. I wanted to go to parks equally, and I went to a skate. This is a story probably why I hate skate parks. Reference a guy. What's his last name?
Casey Burke.
Casey Burke. If you're listening,
Fuck you.
You made me who I am today, dickhead.
Who was he?
He was amazing.
Okay.
He was like this pudgy, like pasty white dude who always had pads, like full face and everything, and chest protectors.
protector,
So he
definitely.
smelled and he was like white. And I kind of feel bad. He's probably watching and hates me. But like
He smelled.
he-
sorry.
I mean, he was like the Midwest ramp dude. And I went to Scrap, which is the Grant skate park of growing up, one of them. And there was a 6-foot ramp there. It was the famous one that Colin Winkleman, R.I.P., alley-ooped into and like hung up on.
Okay.
You had to like line up like facing the quarter, and you had to roll straight in. And I mean, I was just learning to drop in, so like that was sprocket case the chest plant for me, you know. And I was like, fucking flexing on it, getting scared. And he's like, "Come on, man!" He's like making fun of me on the ramp, and I was like, "This is lame, dude. Skate parks are lame. Like people making fun. Like it was not like what you'd expect from a skate park where people would be friendly to you."
Right.
So I was like, "Fuck this! I don't want to go like to skate parks anymore." And I would go because in the winter, for fucking
What are you gonna do?
Nothing. But I only went with my friends, and I definitely didn't go back to Scrap. So it's why I didn't meet Grant for many, many years.
But do you think that the riders, like in Wisconsin, had kind of a bad vibe in general? Was it sort of a salty ass negative scene?
No, definitely not at
Okay.
first. No, that came later. I think it just beat. It's funny because we were flush with the internet before the internet was, with Midwest, which
Right.
we'll talk about, I'm sure. So we kind of got to that. I hate BMX. It's all about cameras and filming way before it became that.
Right.
So a lot of the kids I grew up with were like, "All you guys do is film," and I thought, well, it's just what we did. It was always a camera, like from '96 on, from Joey Hastrader to Garrett Rapp to me, and then eventually Grant when he showed up, and Jeff K.
But when we were young, it was a total thing. Like if you filmed too much, or you were like now, you could film every single thing you ever do, and people wouldn't
Yep.
think it's out of the ordinary. But back in the day, that was like,
People thought it was serious time because to some people getting out the camera was like, oh my god,
no more fun. Yeah.
No more fun. They called it the no fun gun, as
Yeah,
we
I was gonna
remember.
say, yeah.
But for us, I mean, it just became. I liked it because, and it
Yeah.
wasn't like, oh, I want to make it. It was more like we just were always doing something.
let's make some shit.
Yeah.
Document it.
So yeah, there was no salt at first. I mean, the scene was crazy. I remember growing up and being mad if I didn't ride every day because I knew that somewhere in Milwaukee there was a 25-person session every
day?
for like I would say 2001 to like 2006. There was a session like every fucking day, and I would be like with like a girlfriend or something. I'd be like, oh, this fucking sucks. I'd be thinking about everything, and it was back when spots were like popping, because like we were finding spots every day because it was a new city to us. And they'd be like, look what we rode. I'd be like, no, how'd I miss that? Like, so our scene definitely, our scene was super positive. I mean, there was like any other scene. There was some drama. Certain people didn't, fucking each other's girlfriends and fighting over bike parts and stuff, but nothing crazy. So,
Still there.
so yeah, it was. I mean, it was a really positive place to grow up for BMX,
Right.
which you wouldn't think. The middle of fucking nowhere, Midwest.
Yeah, no. Hey, is it a really low cost of living
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's what I've heard a lot of people suggest for like reasons why why is Albuquerque like a crazy dope scene, because it's really cheap to live there.
Yep.
Why is New York not a place where people tend to ride
Same
until
with
later in
Chicago.
their life? Super high cost of living. You can't really ride that much when you have to work 2 jobs. You know?
We grew up asking this question, and it's kind of funny you say that because you just answered it for me. Why was there never a street BMX scene in Chicago until the last 5-6 years? Because nobody lives in Chicago. I mean, Tony Maloof and that crew, like they said Chicago, but they all lived like, out of ways, like Grant did, and like, I mean, it's expensive as hell to live in Chicago in Milwaukee, it's like, what was your place? $900 for 3-bedroom?
3-bedroom garage, $900.
In like a hip neighborhood too.
Right.
So, am I blasting?
No, just turning Grant up a little.
Nice.
You have to bring that Grant in here. Trick or treat, Grant.
Bang bang.
Reference.
No, but it makes sense too. And that's the weird thing.
Is that the cops? Is that the cops?
Just tell them fuck off. They were busy.
I'm in here, man.
Yeah, I don't know. Who the fuck cares?
We're doing an interview.
He just said free drinks.
Free drinks.
Oh,
Not really concerning the two of
Some
us.
guy
but
just said, you and your crew can get free drinks at the bar next door.
Oh, damn.
But I went and tried to do this when we interviewed Mike. I tried to get drinks and bring them back here, and it didn't work.
That's probably not the deal. I think you have to go over there and enjoy the drinks over there.
That's usually how bars
yeah,
work. I was really trying to flex when I tried to steal the drinks from the bar.
But that's the bitter irony of them offering us free drinks.
Biz likes this idea.
Well, he said you have to bring Adam, though.
Really?
See, there it is.
He said that they have to bring Adam.
You know what this is? This is the alcohol industry trying to break up my interview because they know we're going to talk about me being straight edge.
How about that? What,
yeah.
what if? Let's go have a drink and discuss how we continue
Imagine
this.
you break Edge as soon as this interview is done, and then we have to go do another interview with you drunk as
What's
shit.
it like?
Yeah, what's this like? Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that. We're talking about it. Let's talk about it.
Yeah,
You are, I know Adam gives you a lot of shit.
No, I don't.
He made me
I
cry.
mention it the least
He made
of
me
anybody.
cry once.
I love people who don't drink or don't smoke weed, because then I get to smoke more weed. Like it's been me and Nate in the house like recently, and it's like Nate doesn't
I
smoke
like
weed.
it
It's fucking
being
awesome.
for the designated driver factor, but
That's what when my dad figured out that straight edge was like a real thing after a while, he's like, oh shit, you can drive now, instead of him driving me around all the time.
Right.
When he probably shouldn't have been.
Wait. So like, is your dad a big drinker?
Yeah. I mean, he's we're from Wisconsin, so like, it runs in the family pretty heavy. And I guess people are like, is that why you're straight edge? I mean, probably. I saw it growing up. Like, it kind of like hit my whole family, like both sides of my family. Like, my parents were split when I was little because of it. But I mean, I wasn't like like, I don't know. I had this like, this is super meta, like about myself, but like, people are like, your parents got divorced twice and you had this and this, and I just really didn't give a shit. I think it was BMX. I just was like, my step parents got divorced when I was 14, and I was just hitting BMX really hard, and I was like, oh well, whatever. So like,
But straight edge was big, like during that period where you were in your teenage formative years. Too.
I think what it was is I was kind of a nerd. I am a nerd. I was a nerd growing up, like a bookworm, and I was a total nerd till about 8th grade. In 8th grade, I met some dudes I was going to private school, and I like smoked weed a bunch with the Mung. Reference the Mung.
Mung?
Rich Mungle.
Oh, okay, hell yeah.
Me and him smoked weed a bunch, like bunch of beaners. We smoked
Shout out
probably.
Peg Leg crew.
Peg leg, and then I drank like once, like out of my parents' liquor cabinet, and then I drank one more time, and I got caught, like totally, like it was the first day of summer, 8th grade. 8th grade had just ended, and I was like, we went to my friend's house. We were about to watch a movie with my mom, of course. It was really fucking weird. I was like, let's go to your house real quick. So we go across the park, and we have to hit a bowl for some reason. I don't know why we would do that. Go back, try to watch Casino with my mom, and we're fucking baked. So we're just like, like my mom knows what's up. It turns out like my whole family knew all about drugs. So she called me out, and grounded me forever. And I was saving up to get this S&M, like S&M heavy as fuck. And they basically said, hey, don't do that ever again. We'll help you buy this bike.
Right.
Bought the bike, and then I never touched anything again. And then at about 17, I met Milwaukee Mike Houghton.
yeah.
And Eric Stenzel. I mean, I knew them already, and they were the older dudes in the scene, the dudes that were before me. And they were kind of dying out already, but they were both edged, and they were listening to Earth Crisis and shit. And I was like, this is cool. Like, I identify with this. Like, it's about BMX and being healthy, and I needed an identity. It was high school.
Yeah.
I was 16, 17.
It's funny how you don't have any clue that you're looking for an identity when
Yep.
you're a kid, and that kids are watching this and they have no idea what we're talking about, but then you get older and you start to realize that's why you gravitated towards BMX,
Yep.
because it gave you this code to live by of what's important, what's cool, helps you figure out your way,
I mean, it's kind of crazy, and this is kind of an aside, but I think about that, and I think it's so cool to be part of something where you can like truly say like you are something.
Exactly.
Like I don't. It's not like oh like I'm a mountain biker because I mountain bike on the weekends.
Right.
Like I am a BMXer.
Because
I am it.
You remember being young and being like insecure about being a BMXer,
Yes.
like your
Yeah.
first couple of years doing it. Where
Totally.
like I remember being like too embarrassed to buy like a standard shirt to wear to school because in my mind, even though I've been riding for like a year and a half or whatever, I wasn't like a real BMX dude yet because I couldn't 180 or I didn't, whatever I thought was
You
like
can-
an important.
you
trick
can
at the time.
180?
Well.
Not a spine.
It's not good. It does
not a-
happen.
not a
Well, no,
sign.
I have a free coaster now, so
Oh, it
yes.
helps, yeah.
But before that, no.
No, you're right because I had to face that dilemma, and you'll remember this one. It was freshman year, and that was my first experience with Dan's catalog, and I circled all the poor boy shirts.
Hell yeah.
And I was like the kid that the jocks called poor boy, and all my high school pictures had a poor boy shirt on because that was like the BMX brand at the time. And I had to make that call. I was like, am I going to be embarrassed by it or am I going to accept it and fucking say, fuck you, I'm a BMX? Just so in high school, I was like that. I was like cool with everybody because all I really gave a shit about was riding.
Right.
So like I was like, do my best at school, get my good grades, and just clock out, And then I would. So like I knew I was cool in the sense that like I had like 20-year-old friends, that would pick me up in their car. We're gonna
You
go
had your
riding.
own reason to think you were cool.
Yeah,
even
yeah.
if the
I was a
jocks thought you were
nerd. Yeah.
fag, yeah.
So like I wore the clothes and people made fun of me, but I was like confident in it. And straight edge came with that too. I was like this idea of like, no, like you think it's nerdy that I don't drink and smoke, but fuck you, edge. And I had my hands X'd up, and now it's changed a lot. Like now I believe in the lifestyle. I don't like doing drugs. I just think it's not a good choice for me. But I'm not like adamant about it anymore. Like, I mean, people are like, well, do you care if I smoke? I'm like, I don't care if you smoke around me. I would just prefer not to be around people smoking weed because I just don't want to inhale it. But I mean, do whatever the hell you want to do. Who am I to say that? But I worry like when friends and family do it because I'm concerned because I do it for health reasons. Like I think it's a safe, healthy lifestyle. So if my like wife wanted to or something, I'd be like, no, it's not good for you, and I'd be concerned. But I mean,
Is your wife close to your belief set?
Oh, yeah,
in terms of, she's straight edge.
she's
or is
straight
she-
edge,
oh,
yeah.
okay.
I mean, she's a hardcore girl.
Uh-huh.
She also did a similar path as me. She waited longer. She was 18 by the time she kicked it all.
Right.
She was just drinking and partying like a kid, but she grew up listening to. I mean, she's tougher than I am for sure.
Really? Is she
Yeah.
a better mosher than you?
No.
Really?
I'm much better mosher.
Have you ever seen her mosh?
I've seen her punch people, but not mine.
What, like at a show though?
Yeah,
on
like
the edge of the pit.
Yeah, the dudes that
Wow.
swing back into the pit. He kept doing it, and she's like, back up, and then he came back in, and she was just like, boom, right in the back of the head. I was like, all right,
She's
cool.
a little firecracker.
Jesus.
But I
Miss
mean,
Hinkens is a
she's,
firecracker.
she's not a violent one, but I mean, like, she'll stand her ground. I mean, so she was gonna deck me a few times back in our rough days.
Did you and her both X up a lot when you used to go to shows together?
No, because she came to it a little bit more as an adult.
Okay.
She was 18
What does
or
X
19.
up mean?
When you draw the big X's on your hands, and yes, I used to do this all the time as well.
Well, this is new to me.
When
I
you
don't
go
know.
to
This
hardcore
is a world
shows,
that, we're all learning.
it's like a reference because back in the day, like hardcore shows or whatever, if you were too young to drink, they'd draw an X on your hand.
Yep.
So then straight edge kids kind of owned it and like will still I go to hardcore shows now and I don't see it ever. I don't think, but it might just be out here.
I mean, you'll see straight edge dudes with the X tattooed on their wrist, which is
Yeah.
like the secondary way.
When I was super going into hardcore shows, I would see dudes all the time who had X's tattooed on their hands and just drank and smoked weed and stuff because they had already broken edge and they were still in hardcore.
When I used to go to hardcore shows, I never used to go to hardcore shows.
When I used to go to hardcore shows, I was going to like the more pussy shit. My wife was the one going to the tougher ones.
Really?
Yeah, she actually for my birthday one year, she got me a Earth Crisis tickets for their reunion show. And it was so fucking gnarly that we just stayed way in the back. I mean,
Yeah.
like 40-year-old dudes in overalls with like real boots.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
And I was like, yo, I'm staying the fuck out of this pit. Like Terror and Earth Crisis. It was awesome.
I went to like an Earth Crisis reunion in Rochester and had a similar. Well, I'm pretty sure I was moshing at the time because I was like 19, but it was fucking insane.
I've never heard Earth Crisis or any of these bands you're talking about, but can I do an impression of what I think they sound like?
Yeah, you're probably. yeah. The grass.
Is that a real song?
It sounded exactly like Earth
Oh,
Crisis.
man,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Earth Crisis was everything to me as a kid, though, and
Me
I know
too.
that he's from like the same like state of mind. Like, well, did you stop eating animal products early on? Or
No,
did you
I
ever
was
try that out.
I was never vegan,
Okay.
and I was always like I would always say I don't see the connection. I do see the connection, but like I love meat, sausage.
Pause.
Same.
So yeah, I
That's
wasn't, but I did the straight edge thing for a more of a like when I say health, I mean mental health. Like I saw people making bad decisions in my life, my family, my friends, and I just wanted to be able to make a clear decision. So
Yeah.
that was a choice. Not that And for those listening at home, you know, it doesn't mean I think I'm better than you. So you have to put that disclaimer out there because it's like
people have
you
weird
say-
concepts about straight edge.
You say the word straight edge, it's like you could talk about being drunk and high all day long with me in the room, and I'll make jokes with you. We'll talk shit. I mean, Charlie Crumlish will, you know, paint a joint on my fucking face on every photo.
Did he? Oh, well, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And I think it's hilarious because it's life. It's funny. And I say one joke about straight edge, and people are like, "Yo, back up, bro. You gotta stop preaching." And I'm
Really?
like, dude, I don't say anything, but you know, it's
Yeah,
life.
people are too sensitive in general when it comes to the topic of drugs because it's so hard for anybody to understand anybody else's perspective. It's like the ultimate like unrelatable thing because everybody reacts differently to everything, you know? Yeah.
But I think people always use that guy as like, oh, you think you're better than me?
Can you show the camera your eyes right now?
Yeah.
You just take a bunch of ecstasy or
Yeah,
what is this?
man, I did. No, I just put the contacts in today.
Who is that?
Wes Borland from Limp Bizkit. That's what I thought immediately
Or like-
upon seeing you today.
Speaking of,
I knew something was up. when
I thought
Speaking
you
of
were on
Limp
some
Bizkit.
crazy drugs.
No, I bought these in Malaysia, and they're bigger contacts. They fit in my eyes way better. And I hate driving at night, so I put these big ones in. I was like,
They
oh,
always
okay.
say that that's what your eyes look like when you're on ecstasy, but I've never like noticed somebody looking like that.
It's
really.
funny that you didn't say that because when we got out of the car,
Biz was on ecstasy. You're
no,
pointing at him.
no. There was a cop across the street, and I was like, "Come on, Biz, let's go." And Biz goes, "No, I'm just gonna walk to the corner." I was like, "I don't give a fuck. I'm jaywalking." And as I'm jaywalking, the cop's coming to the car, and he looked right at me, and I was like, "What's up, man?" And he didn't say anything. He just kept like getting back into his car, and I was like, "That's fucking weird." And then I was like, "Oh, he saw my eyes, and I had my backpack on. He probably thought I was fucking."
You do, yeah.
You're
You
gonna
look like a
Hulk
raver
out
kid.
PCP.
What's up, man?
Is PCP even a drug anymore? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like
What does that do? I don't even know what that does.
PCP, it makes you fucking trip out and lose your mind.
and you Hulk
Is
out
that wet?
too, right?
That's
Yeah,
wet.
you get like
it makes you
really
feel like
strong
you're
and
invincible.
shit, yeah.
PCP is wet.
I don't even, to be honest, like I the only person I've really heard talk about it, if you listen to Hoder's interview, he talks all about how he did
Oh,
it
that's
for
wet.
like
Yeah, then that's wet.
a couple years
Well, see,
where he was a super.
We're teaching
I'll say
the
we have
fans out there.
digressed quite a bit.
That's all right. We're learning about the straight edge lifestyle. I learned a lot about the
Earth Crisis.
sort of music you people listen to.
I'm on the PCP page
We're gonna
on
find-
Wikipedia.
Phenos.
Oh, it was taken off the market in 1965.
Rest in peace.
It used to be on
Rest
the
in
market,
PCP.
Rest in peace.
Rest in PCP. That's
We've
funny.
actually had some
I'm
good
not
times.
gonna read the article.
The four of us, we've had some good times
We have.
together.
We have.
took
We
a-
went to Barcelona together. What? I was there for a month. How long were you there?
I was there
2
for a
weeks?
month.
Oh,
No, I was there for a
but
month.
you kept
yeah.
dipping off.
Yeah.
And
We
going.
were there for 3 weeks, me and Grant.
Yeah.
That was amazing. But when people ask you what's your favorite place you've ever been to, do you say Barcelona? Because I do.
I think so.
Yeah.
I answer the question, I don't know, because I've now it's like a total precision, but I've been so many places now that it's like it's really hard to say because it's so many awesome things. But Barcelona is like it's next level.
I could say Barcelona out of Europe for sure.
I mean, you can look at a place for, if you're going to take a girl there, or when
Riding.
they say riding is always obviously at the top of my list, so that's why I always say
But
Barcelona.
okay, Barcelona's number one for riding, more or less.
I think it sucks for food, and I'm a food snob because unless you're spending money,
Yeah.
you got to spend
Very
money
true.
there, which I'm okay with. But it's like you know how it is. It's Europe. They don't eat out readily.
Cheap
so
food
you gotta,
sucks in much of Europe.
Yes, yeah. So like, and it's kind of a dirty city. It smells like actual shit all the time there. Like
Yeah, I guess I could see
That's
that.
probably because Adam shit his pants there.
I did.
remember the time we saw a woman pick up her toddler, naked toddler, in Barcelona, and hang it over the sewer, and it just shit into the sewer.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was on that trip with you
Yeah, it was
guys.
on that trip.
In China, all the little kids wear like little butt flaps so that they can just do this no problem, like into the sewer, and it's no big deal.
The other day I was at a restaurant and this kid's like, I gotta pee. He's like 2. And I was like, okay. And he turns and just goes to the wall. It just goes to the
In
wall
the
and starts
restaurant.
unzipping. He's about to pee. He's like, no. I'm like, I was like, damn, you gotta train that thing.
Yeah. What was your crazy experience in Barcelona, aside from the fact that me and a few of my friends were the first people you ever saw do cocaine?
I had only seen cocaine on one other time at a Metro Jam, and I ended up walking with this random chick I met, and we went up to a penthouse like a baller thing. We walk in this party, and it's packed, and this guy has an actual plate of cocaine.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, this is like the
It's a
80s.
hell of a party right there.
Yeah, I was like, we gotta get the fuck out of here. It was
We
wild.
got to get out of here.
Yeah.
No, that's not what a lot of people have to say.
No, the wildest experience in Barcelona. Ooh, Grant, jog my memory because I have no memory. I mean, Grant hulked out a bunch. I mean, I hulked out a bunch, not as much as Grant.
We tripped you guys out quite
Yeah.
a bit.
I like
with,
that you
the
just-
anger level.
He
you
just used the
and
term
Charlie.
hulked out for Grant, and like 2
And
minutes before he
PCP.
used it for PCP.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want to do drugs. Can you imagine?
Good Lord.
I'll hulk out.
I think you'd be fine.
No, you would do
I
hulk
think
out.
you'd be a
yeah.
good time. You'd be a
You do
good-
cocaine, you're liable to coke out or to hulk out. Yeah. Coke out too.
No, Barcelona is awesome. We actually went. We went to.
You went again, yeah.
Yeah, it inspired. I mean, it inspired kind of the idea, and I thank you guys for this. It inspired the idea that back in the day when we did road trips, it'd be like, let's hit as many cities as we can in 10 days. And I was like, that's cool, but I found out that if you just go somewhere and sit there for a month, it's a much better experience.
Done,
yeah. So
you really learn a place.
Yeah, and so we went to Barcelona for a month. Then the next summer, I think we
went to Berlin.
The next summer, the next summer we went to Berlin, and that was like one of the craziest experiences of my life. I mean, like, just I don't know. And I got hurt. Like I sprained both my wrists, and I didn't know if it was like straight to wrist. And I ended up just sightseeing by myself for a week, and I went to Rome for like 2 days. Like, I can't do anything. I'm in Europe. I might as well just do cool stuff. And I was like, this is pretty wild. Like, this is like the college backpacking experience, just
that's cool
being around Europe. But it inspired me. And then I came back and I was able to ride. And then this last summer we went again
to Barcelona.
And it's such a cool idea. The Airbnb thing has changed everything.
Yeah,
it's
amazing.
Yeah, you look for an apartment somewhere. I mean, you can do it anywhere now. Like, we're thinking about doing like a Madeira. We're doing a Madeira trip, and we're talking about different locations. And like, you can find a house in X location for X many weeks for $1,200.
Just makes the whole thing so easy. Because I remember when we went to Barcelona, Catfish booked the fucking hotel, and then Fernando ended up telling us that we paid like 3 times more than we should have paid.
Yeah.
But we had like a balcony and a washing machine.
It was cool.
But the thing about Barcelona now is that the city of Barcelona or Catalonia is coming down on the Airbnbs because the hotels are coming at them and like, yo, you got to do something about this because people are renting, paying $10 a night around the corner from the W. You got to do something.
And Barcelona's got all this drama with the Ubers too, right?
Yeah, it's insane. They got to get their shit together.
All right, let's go back in time. So, what about how does your BMX career change when you leave high school, or your BMX life?
Actually,
that's when a lot of people fall off.
Yeah, I think when I hit, I didn't get my license till I was almost out of high school. So it was like the years, that's the drop-off years.
Right.
And for me, it was the opposite, of course. Like, you had the 2 options, and I took the second option. That was, holy shit, road trip, And I remember getting on the road with Edson Nieves. You probably remember.
Edson.
And he was like 16. I was like 18, I think. And he was like faltering in high school, like barely. And I was like, nah, fuck it, let's go on a road trip. So he like dropped out of high school. We went on a road trip. He lived out of my car. And like, for me, once I turned 18, it was like, it went ham, like, and there wasn't a career at the time. Matter of fact, like, by the time I got sponsored, I thought I was done. Like, that was like I was like, I'm done now.
Was the Take days? Was that when
that
you
was
got
Madeira
sponsored?
and the Take at the same time?
And what year was that? 2007?
2005.
6,
Okay.
yeah.
So like I like,
Because you were kind of old by 2005.
I was
to go
20,
pro.
Yeah, I was 20. What
24,
math?
4, 5.
23.
See, that's rare.
24.
Not a lot of people get sponsored at that age, especially
But
these days.
I think that was because of the area that he was from. There was already so much coverage coming to that area. Everything, like, again, from Four Seasons, but then you had Jeff K, you had Dom, you had all this attention, and then obviously Dave Frymouth, Brian Kaczynski, and photographers are always there.
Well, we had in C4 with Rick Wagner. That was my first sponsor, actually. In that, shout out to Rick.
What was C4 again?
The bike shop.
So I guess
Can I see
rewinding.
the Kit Kats?
Oh yeah. Rewinding to give it the background here. I don't have to touch your cats. From 18 to like 22 was when we filmed. We filmed like 3 videos. We filmed Milwaukee's Beast, which was like a really small scene video. It was like an hour, but it was all right. I mean, we made it. Then Midwear, which was the epic.
That's when it got
done. And then we did Horizon. And Horizon is when I think that's when I realized like that, like, the BMX was like, I was able to progress really fast with it. Let me totally change that. I don't mean like my skill. I meant that like the BMX itself was progressing, and then I could be part of it.
Right. Because that is a moment, when you start to realize, like, I can,
because that was, I remember, and this is total toot my own horn, I remember Edwin was the only other person I had ever seen do a 540 cab.
Right.
And I did one in there, and I was super stoked. I was like, dude, Edwin did one, I did one. And then the full cab bar spin, mine was terrible. It was barely pulled.
But the first time that you do a trick that like a rider you love, and you start to be like, fuck, like, I remember it was like a wall ride bar spin, which is really hard for me to imagine myself doing.
Yeah, I mean, that's a crazy trick.
I did a wall ride bar and like a shitty little wall ride, and like I probably made it look so bad, but in my head I was like, I just did a trick that Edwin had in his last video part.
And that's what I felt. Horizon came out, and I was like, I can push the sport is how I felt.
Right.
Which is or isn't bullshit. But I mean, the idea was that I was really part of not just BMX, but part of the sport of BMX. So I think that's when I started going even harder. And that's about the same time, shortly thereafter, that Jeff K showed up on the scene. Mm-hmm. And at the same time that C4 showed up. And C4 was a BMX-only shop run by Rick Wagner. And he He had worked for Standard. He had worked for DC or not DC, the World Industries or something. He had been in the industries in general. And he came back to Milwaukee. He's from West Dallas, kind of. I think he actually grew up in West Dallas in like the shittier part of it. And he like saw like the scene as growing. So he made an all BMX shop, which is a total failure because you can't do all BMX. Even with our scene popping, and we didn't charge labor. You know, it was like, oh, you bought a frame? Yeah, I'll swap everything over for you on the clock for free.
Yeah.
Which is awesome, but we couldn't survive after a while. And so it only lasted about 3 or 4 years, but that changed everything. Like Road Fools came through. Yeah. And Props.
What Road Fools was that?
8.
Right, yeah.
And Props did a bunch of stuff with us. And then like Chris Rye, you know, of Props is from Wisconsin. So he started doing stuff with Andy Kent. Andy Kent was the first person I knew that was sponsored, like from our crew. Like Dusty Horton had kind of gotten it before with S&M a little bit. DK, yeah. But Andy like met Ruben, and Ruben fell in love with him for some reason. I mean, Andy's amazing.
Andy's awesome.
But I mean, it's just crazy to think that Ruben, of all people, Ruben Alcantara would pick Andy Kent, you know, just out of the blue. And he rode for McNeil, and it was this really big thing. And from there, it just kind of blossomed. More companies were interested in. When C4 closed, Matt Copeland said to all of us, he said, hey, if you guys ever need anything from Profile, you know, we'll make it work, you know. The coolest dude ever, as always. So
shout out to Matt.
Yeah, shout out to Matt for so much. And then, like 6 months later, my bike got stolen by a bike rider, of course, because they stole my car, drove it like 2 blocks away, took bike, helmet, tools, inner tubes.
So did you find out who did it?
No, never did it.
Jeez.
Crazy in the small scene that we used to be.
Wow.
And I called Matt the next morning, and I was like, hey, I got to take you up on that offer, you know, whatever pricing. Can I get some hubs? He's like, actually, I'm starting this company called Madeira. Do you want to, you know, and it was him, Dave McDermott, and
Dave Jacobs.
Street Dragon and Dave Jacobs.
Yeah, and Dave Jacobs like dropped off right around that time right away anyway, so I never really met a dude that I had looked up a lot to. Intuition was like one of my favorite videos, you know, and that's how it started. And then a year later-ish, maybe less than a year, he had talked to Jeff Harrington, who he's close to, and Jarrett, is it Ward?
Jarrett Ward.
Yes.
Jarrett Ward, yeah.
Jarrett was super cool too, and they hit me up about the take. I mean, it was like, you know, and I'm like in grad school, so I mean, I'm already like kind of old, and I was like, holy shit, this is like the biggest. So it was a huge opportunity for me, and I dove in.
It's cool that you were like riding all the way up to that point, though, because that's a good example of somebody who like you don't need to be sponsored to keep riding until you're 25. You know?
I mean, and that's the thing. Like, it was. I mean, I didn't, like I said, I thought it was kind of like I'm from the Midwest, and like I'm not like burly, and like I was a tech street rider, so I thought, you know, that's why I'll never get sponsored, and that's okay because that's not what this is about. And God has my day come in the sense that, you know, I remember being so mad when I was like 16. I'd go to contests, and it would be like beginner would be fly out on the box jump, and I'd be riding the fucking flat ledge,
right? You
know, doing feeble 180s. I'm like, what the fuck? Look at me, you know, like I'm doing tricks. I don't want to win. Just pay attention to what I'm doing, and they just wouldn't pay attention. And like I remember when, you know, it just kind of started to change, and I was like, this is awesome. Like, what I love to do is now what everybody does. And I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to get sponsored now. It was just like, this is cool. And I mean, same with brakeless. I took my brakes off in 99 because I kept breaking cables, and I couldn't afford cables. And I just masking taped the 990s on in for later use. And I just took them off one day. Like, they were jangling, and I was like, fuck it. You know, and the Gons was the only person that had done it. And I did it for necessity, and then it became like a gimmick for me. I was like, oh, you're the brakeless kid. And then suddenly I was like, man, everybody's brakeless. It's cool. And like, you know, I remember when you took your break, when Grant C took his brakes off, I was like, no more Fufanoos, no more hurricanes.
That was pretty much solely due to you.
Yeah.
My brakes like stopped working at the skate park. Took them off because they were just, you know, when the cable's in the way or whatever, you just don't even want to ride. So I took everything off, and then we'd already planned on going on a trip. And I was, you know, it was like Christmas time, so I went home. I was in college and everything, and I was like too busy to work on my bike or whatever. And then it was like, oh, day after Christmas, we're going on the trip. I was like, oh, I guess I'm just going to go on this trip without brakes, and then I never put them back on.
Yeah, I mean, the bad influence.
Well, you found out you didn't need them. Hey, so what was the idea of the take early on?
You know,
because it was owned by FBM, like that was always the idea.
Yes, and I'm going to put a caveat out there and say that I was part of it for a couple of years, but it was one of those things, like I was a newbie to being sponsored, so I was pretty enamored with being sponsored by them. So I never and now I could explain to you how Madeira works because I know the inside of the industry, but then I didn't really know much. So this is going to be coming from kind of someone who doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. But the basic idea I got was that Jeff Harrington and Jarrett Ward, this idea was, let's appeal, similar to what Madeira has done, let's appeal to a different demographic of BMX. FBM hits a different demographic. Let's appeal to these young, scene kids.
Yeah.
And I thought the idea was great because it was like, hey, let's just do something different. It was one of the first major rebrandings I saw in BMX where it was like image was
it had
important.
a very strong image with the leaves all over the frames.
Yeah,
it was very easy to notice.
The first
at the time,
package I got, I mean, I don't know how they afforded it. The first package I got was like 10 shirts, 2 track jackets, a pullover, a hoodie, beanies, a flat bill hat, all American Apparel, multi-screen prints. I mean, it was like they were going in, which was really awesome. And they really I think FBM was really killing it at the time. So, like, they put a lot of effort behind it. Again, I'm making assumptions about that, but I'm assuming. And that was the idea. I think that the team grew quickly, and I think there was disagreements between the people behind the scenes, and I don't know what they were about. And Jarrett left, I think, first.
Yeah.
And then Jeff left, and I started to feel like it was
then it was like FBM's brand.
Yeah, and I felt like it was kind of a sinking ship.
Yeah.
And I was nervous because, I was like, oh, man, this sucks. Like, and Harrington was like a homie of mine. And I looked up to Harrington, too, as well. Like, he's a straight-edge dude. He's a hardcore dude. He's from Chicago.
One of the best riders ever. He's one of the most creative riders.
Super beastly, too. I mean, he could, and he had a really good perspective about BMX. He was one of those true, like, innovators in BMX. He really wanted to change, like, create the sport, like, do tricks that no one was doing.
Yeah.
So when they had all happened, at the same time I was living with Casey Strong, who had just gotten hooked up by Sputnik because Johnny Devlin was in charge of Sputnik.
Right. I forgot you did a little tenure on Sputnik.
Yeah,
yes.
and
I had 2 Sputniks.
I remember that because I think we were on at the same time.
Yeah, I had the Johnny Devlin one and the Ricky Bates one.
I had them both, same ones, and they were
Rest in
awesome
peace.
frames. Yeah, R.I.P. And they, I was kind of feeling, I kind of felt like it was like, oh, this is bad. I should probably get off. And Casey had mentioned something about it, and I was like, is there anything up? And Johnny's like, yeah, I'll hook you up with a frame. And it was more of like a friend hookup, but like, knowing like as an adult what it's like to get a job, I was like, well, then I got to put in work. So I started putting in work right away. I made a bunch of edits. I sent him news all the time because that's what I expected on the Madeira side. And they posted it, but like I was like, hey, any trip, I will show up. Like I know I'm like a nobody, like a flow guy. And at that time, it was like Miles, Nair.
So it was like Maloof, Nair,
and you can already see where this is going.
Ricky.
Ricky, and Johnny had then left. So I didn't fit at all. I didn't know anybody. And then I moved to Nicaragua, and I was gone for a year. And while I was there, I was like, God, I got to put a lot of content. I'm going to lose these sponsors, Like, I was kind of concerned. I wanted to, like, keep them happy,
Right.
So, and I love making videos. So I made, like, 2 or 3 videos. And, they were, like, up to par, I would say, with what was happening at the time. And I was like, I just got to keep going with this. And then I came home, and then Madeira got invited on Road Fools, the last one, RIP. And
which I also went on. And you.
Yeah, yep. And the night, I'm, like, all amped on fucking Road Fools, of course. Who wouldn't be? And I'm laying in bed with my girlfriend, or my wife, my girlfriend at the time, and I get a phone call or email, I think, from Hucky, who I don't know, who had just taken over the team, I think. And it was like, hey, man, we're doing, now I
remember this.
I know how emails go now. And basically said to me, you don't fit. And I was like, I was kind of bummed because at that time I was more concerned about putting in the work. I was like, yeah, I don't fit, but I'm like working for you. But I was like, whatever. So I had to pull my bike. I mean, I was pissed. So I pulled my bike out of the bike bag that night, pulled off all the Sputnik stickers, then went on, the next day. And it was just, I was mad. I shouldn't be mad because, they're doing what they have to do. And also because, if they had let me go on Road Fools and rep the brand the whole time, that would have been shitty on their end. Yeah. So, I guess it was a smart thing to do, or maybe a mature thing to do. I was bummed. And then Sputnik, sank and disappeared and whatever. But
yeah, they just gave up on it.
I think, so it was what it was. And I actually rode with Ronnie like a week ago. And I've seen him numerous times, and it's all cool. So it was a weird situation, and I probably didn't belong on the team anyway. As in the fit.
Well, it's weird when they're switching between different like TMs and different people guiding it.
Because I went from Johnny to Maloof, and that's a big jump.
Yeah, creatively, that's a very big
think that's how it went, right?
I don't remember. I know that Ben was the last person. Ben Hunt was the last person.
And then after they kicked me off, though, that was like it, though. I never saw anything. It was like, Mike saw Sputnik, and then suddenly it was just like nothing. And then I was like, well, I guess whatever. So then I just focused on Madeira. And obviously, now we're talking about sponsors, but it wasn't like that's why I rode. We're talking about the camera stuff again. It's like, then, see, Grant was already in my life,
in my life.
And after Grant came into my life... the camera was ever present. We always had a camera, but I loved it because Grant and I would go ride a curb for 4 hours. And then we turn a corner and we'd see, oh, there's a crazy rail. We do something on it and be like, you want to film it? Fuck it. Yeah. Like, so like, it was more than anything, it was that Grant was prepared, which made filming so easy. Instead of like, I hated this one, like making the list and going out and, all right, clip after clip after clip. That's no fun, and it's not how I grew up riding BMX. So Grant and I organically film always. So people are like, some of the people I grew up with, like, you're always filming. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm just always riding.
And you have a friend who knows how to film,
Yeah.
and you kind of know how to film, so it's like, why not
Yeah.
just film each other all the time? Yeah.
So that changed, and that's why when I talk about sponsors and filming, it's like the job was always easy for us because we love filming.
Right.
And I had one of the best filmers around, and I learned how to film, and he benefits from me being able to film him. So it's a good situation. And now that we moved apart, it's actually been super challenging. I've had a lot of cool dudes film and bro-cam me, but my wife watched my last edit that's like half Grant and half 9 people, and she finished. She's like, it was really good, but man, you miss Grant, huh? Like she could see that, half it was like really well filmed and half it was like tripod or, so it's how it is.
Yeah. So wait, let's talk about, you just casually said like, and then I moved to Nicaragua for a year. What can we talk about your career and how that's affected your how your life has gone?
The only thing that I think my parents somehow instilled in me, and I don't understand why, and my wife and I talk about all the time, like, why did I turn out not a piece of shit? I grew up like in a shitty neighborhood, not bad as in dangerous, shitty just as in like a bunch of burnout people doing nothing, and went to an average high school, but I was like obsessed with getting good grades. I got straight A's all through high school, all through college, and that was just, and I'm lucky, I'm one of those dudes that's like book smart, so I didn't work that hard for it. So like, it's not like I'm like oh, look how hard I worked. I just lucked out. I was good at book smart shit. So like, I got good grades, and as such, I was like, well, I might as well make sure that I have a backup plan, because BMX is, especially when I was 18.
Yeah, there was no money. There was no way like a street rider was going to be getting a check.
Yeah, they
aside
weren't
from,
even
like,
considering it.
very few people. If you didn't
And
ride a
even now,
contest,
it's
you
not a
weren't
real-
getting
And
paid.
see, that's what's funny is that now kids, or some people have this perspective of like, oh, it's so fucked up that such and such hardcore street rider has to have a job or whatever. But it's like, dude, it was always
It's
like
always
that.
been like the only dudes that didn't have to get jobs were
The stars.
the stars.
Yeah. Contest dudes and dudes with big sponsors.
Yeah,
Yeah,
or like
yeah.
the best street rider in New York, Edwin, was making a good living,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
nobody else was probably
And I've
even really
always
getting paid.
known
Yeah.
that wasn't sustainable for most, and definitely not for me. And as such, I was like, I better find a career that lets me keep doing this.
Right.
And I early on, like most BMXers, realized that I'm good at working with kids. So I was like, oh, school's kind of cool. I like school. So in like high school, I like did some tutoring, and then I was like, I'll just be a teacher, because guess what? I like working with kids and off all the damn time. So I went to school to be a teacher.
Teaching
And
what though?
Middle school and high school social studies, because it's just bullshitting. I mean, like, it's just telling stories, and that's awesome. Like I like to. I mean, I talk like this with my. I don't swear, but I talk like this with my students. I mean, like, yeah. So the Indians showed up and they were dumb and they did this. I mean, like,
They were
wow,
dumb.
totally not politically correct. That sounded terrible.
Wow, it's true. I mean, they were not as they didn't know they were a lower technology society.
Yes, let me rephrase that. Columbus showed up and he said, let's massacre these Indians because I want to take advantage of everything. And that's what happened. And I teach kids that. And I actually
Wait, Columbus killed the Indians?
I mean,
Well, not by himself, but
with his machete. No. I have a pretty, as most teachers do, I have a pretty liberal view. So when I teach kids, I'm pretty open about it. So it's really cool to be able to go into the classroom and talk to kids with like the perspective of someone that's not bought into like
Right.
mainstream culture and society, and also being part of it. I went to college. I learned, the basics and stuff. So teaching was cool. Unfortunately, I got to school when the recession hit, and I was promised, oh, in Milwaukee, you'll get 60 G's a year right out the gate in the inner city. I was like, fuck it, yeah, I'll do that. Crashed. No, like they laid off like hundreds of teachers, couldn't find work, huge student loans. And I was one of the the people they talk about on the internet. I'm one of those people that got tricked. I have a gigantic student loan because they told me that don't worry, it's worth the investment. You'll get out, you'll pay it off in 3 years because you'll make. And now I'm screwed. But whatever. So I mean, I love my jobs when I'm teaching,
sucks, yeah.
and I was subbing, and I was like, I got to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, maybe I'll teach abroad. And I just researched and found schools. There's American schools all over the country or the world that teach American students abroad or people abroad that want to move to the United States and need it. And I was like, oh, so I applied, and like they're pretty hungry for people because it's tough to recruit people from the United States to move somewhere. Moved to Nicaragua, and it was wild. It was an interesting, wild time. Really crazy stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
talk to us about that. What were what were you thinking about prior to going?
Dude, I mean, so quickly to back up. So how it works is like there's 2 job fairs in the United States for these, and it's like a meat market. You can apply ahead of time, but since I had no experience and I was nobody, basically no one was interested in me. Everybody, of course, is applying. Like you can like solicit them ahead of time. Then you go to the market and you hope that someone wants to talk to you. No one want to talk to me. So everybody's in line for like Rome, Paris, and stuff, and there's no lines for like anywhere non-desirable. So you can put your stuff up there, and I got a couple interests. So I did a couple interviews, and one was Puerto Rico, which it didn't work out, and one was Nicaragua. So they're like, tomorrow at 10 a.m., this is one day. Tomorrow at 10 a.m., you got to make a decision. We're offering you this position, this pay. You got to leave this, this, and this. Never even thought of Nicaragua. Couldn't even tell you where it was, probably barely. So I went to the hotel room, and YouTube was just starting to, it was like 2008. So I YouTubed Nicaragua, found some BMXers there. I was like, all right, I can do it. And the next morning, I called my mom. I was like, I'm going to do this. And she was like, no, you're not. I was like, no, I'm doing it. Click. Next morning, took the job.
Why was your mom so mad about it?
She like does not want me to ever leave her ever. She would like if I lived in her house forever.
She's like nervous, and Nicaragua's like dangerous or whatever. So I'm sure she was probably like thinking Mike was going to be living in a slum or something.
She's a mom.
She's a mom, and she loves
doing
me.
the mom thing.
And without her, I mean, mom represent.
Shout out to mom.
Shout out to mom and dad. Without them, I certainly wouldn't be where I am. But I moved down there really not knowing what the hell to expect. And I already contacted these dudes on YouTube, this guy named Carlos Logo.
So it was just you. You're moving down by
Yes.
yourself. You're not moving with like other people that are going down there to teach.
There's fresh teachers, but nobody I know. And I get there and I end up being like across the hallway because like the school's this big compound, like a high school here, huge, right? Fenced in, gates, guys with shotguns at every gate. I mean,
shit.
And the president's kids I had the president's kids. I mean, like it was wild stuff. And for the first year teachers, they put you in like there's like little dorms kind of. It's like whatever, it's a little tiny apartment on the grounds. It's like in the back corner. It's huge, so it wasn't so bad. And there was stuff to ride. They built me a flat rail. I made a little like edit. They built me like a 20-foot flat rail. It was like done by all the locals for nothing. It was really cool, but I got there and I had to befriend a couple girls that worked there, and they were really cool. And they like supported me. And I was going through a rough patch with my lady at the time, and I like really needed to clear my head and figure out what the hell was wrong with me. I was just dogging her all the time, being a piece of shit. In about 6 months, 6 months in, I achieved some clarity, and I hit her up, and I was like, "Here's the deal: I fucked up. Take me back, come back, and then we hit the straight and narrow, and we've been together 10 years now. So I mean, awesome. Like that helped me, but." What really helped me was the dudes down there, and that was where like BMX family really took off for me and showed me how it was. These dudes like showed up at the gate, rode miles to the house, showed up at the gate, talked Spanish with me very slowly, took me to the spots, like said, don't go there, don't go there. I mean, these dudes protected me, came to my house and cooked me dinner, showed me the local spots. These guys saved my life probably, and without them, my life would have sucked. I mean, and it was rough living there, but without them, it would have been like impossible.
Really?
So shout out to Carlos, Harry, Pinky, and Rohair for changing the game. And we actually would donate stuff because they couldn't get any products down there. So every time I went home, I would just take a suitcase full of bike parts and we just to everybody because they'd be riding like 20-inch bikes, but like little girls' bikes with like the 1 2 with pegs on it. Like 360 and like 6 stairs with and they just the frame would bend in half, like and they would just bend it back. I mean,
they must have been so psyched to have you as like their local.
It's so crazy when you go to other countries because of that. Because like
they were super.
They just make it work. Yeah.
They the only cool like. I like when I left, everybody was back manualing and 5-capping like crazy. I was like, those are the 2 tricks that I was always doing,
You changed their lives. Like, didn't you show them like internet BMX? So they were making.
I showed
videos.
them the come up. Really? Honestly, I was like, you guys don't know what the come up was?
Should have shown them Vital.
They were making like videos, but they didn't know other people really were, and then like they had limited internet access. But when they would get the internet, they would like go to websites like the company. They would like check that shit, and then they were like, oh my god, there's this many people doing this. Like then. Mike brought people there, like a bunch of people went and visited him.
Ka-ching came down.
Dave McDermott.
Big Boster, McDermott, Jeff Dowen.
And Connell, right?
Connell Keenan. And Dalecki. And Wade Young. What a crew. What a weird crew.
I just remember McDermott doing that crazy like crook on the triple rail.
When I saw that spot, I sent him a
roller
picture
coaster rail, like maybe like an 8 stair or something, and
8 or
3
9,
rails, and he's like crooking right in between everything.
It's
Street
exactly
dragon.
what had to be done there, and he did.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. It was like, I mean, I think about it now and I'm like, dude, that was like one of those perfect spot usages.
You're never gonna find that spot.
You're never gonna find it again. It was so awesome.
There might be a couple on Earth that are doable.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird to think?
Yeah, literally on Earth.
Yeah.
How do you describe Nicaragua to someone that's never been there? I've never been there.
I mean, here's how I describe it. It's a third world country. It's the second poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. There are a lot of really nice people. It's just dirt poor, and the government... I'll stop. It's dirt poor, and there's a lot of issues. And,
Corruption?
Yeah, there's corruption issues, corruption with the police. But what I found is that most people there were very, very nice.
Right.
Like most places you travel to. And they just want to have a better life. And the whatever's gone through the policies that have happened, it's a rough place to be for them. And it's growing. The middle class is growing, and BMX is a middle class sport. And the 4 or 5 guys I was with were like barely middle class. So they were like, by many people's kind of, they were wealthy by many people.
Yeah,
but
didn't you say that your friend was an accountant?
He made like
$400 a month,
and that was like baller money.
And he like had money apparently, which is like pretty crazy to think about.
And wow. I mean, he's like really taking. All of them have. They've gone different paths and stuff. But I mean, you know, like to give them a bike part was like be like us giving someone a car. You know what
sword.
I mean?
Yeah.
Wow.
I bestow the stem upon you.
The first thing you said, I thought I was Lacey. That sword.
Lacey the sword.
That's what I thought. Sorry, Lacey, don't kill me because
I don't think he actually impaled someone with the sword. I think he just chased him with a sword.
Yeah. So, but no,
Lacey don't really even need a sword. He could just
he's
got swords for hands.
I've like ridden with him like 3 times, and every time it was him on the deck and me doing this.
Well, you're scared of him?
He's like Hoder. He's super intimidating. Like,
yeah.
I've never spoken to him, and he's seen me. I've heard he's really cool, but like he's intimidating. I'm not intimidated by many people, but Hoder and Lacey, those dudes scare me. Sorry, guys. Well, no, you're awesome, but
Lacey,
you scare me.
You ever hear girls talk about having the resting bitch face? I would say that Lacey has like a resting mean face.
A resting. I'm gonna.
You kind of look at him and you're like,
face.
oh, geez, did to piss him off? I don't know.
I mean, a Kit Kat.
I'm talking about dying life.
Lacey lives up to that look though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I've seen him get mad.
yeah, you do not want to be on his bad side.
What about you? You ever beat the shit out of someone, Hinkens? Sword or no sword?
No, I mean definitely never beat the shit out of it. But I've been in fights and stuff, and I'm not much of a fighter, but I'm like I'm a rager. Like I lose it, and I see red.
Right.
Like you actually see red, and I just get really irrational and do really stupid stuff, which
Right.
sometimes works out, and sometimes I go to jail. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Wait, what'd you go to jail for?
well, technically for knifing somebody, but I didn't knife him.
Jesus.
Wait.
No, pulling a knife, but you didn't actually.
I didn't pull a knife.
You didn't?
He pulled a
But
knife on me.
This
Yeah,
happened
for
to
the
me
record,
too.
Mike doesn't carry a knife. He never.
I
has
never
carried
knifed
a knife.
anybody. Yeah.
Why, is there a reason we're not saying stabbed? Which is what I would.
He said knife. He used the word knife.
I don't know. I just thought it sounded cool.
obviously,
You've never played knifey spoony before.
I promised my wife, because we have to be somewhat in good standing with the law enforcement agencies, so we can work for the government, that I would no longer freak out, because I just like when we're riding, I have no patience. And I'd be the guy that, like, when the bros or the jocks would roll by when I was 16.
I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah, they'd be like, fags, and I'd be like, oh, fuck on! I'd be down the street, and like, what am I gonna do? I'm like a scrawny 16-year-old, like, get my ass beat. But like, I learned in life that most people are all talk, and when you step up to that talk, they back down. And that worked for me for a long time, until this one time in Dallas at the Kmart ledge, I was riding with a bunch of young kids, and Joe went, who's a beast, and he would fight anybody for me, I think, because he's really awesome. And he grew up with me, and he's a scary dude, and he was with me, and I didn't realize he had left 5 minutes prior. So I'm feeling pretty confident, and these total dirtbags drive by this fat chick in a van, and she's like, the fuck out of the road, and I was like, fuck you, I'm with a bunch of young kids, I'm like, and they stop, and I'm like, yeah, fuck you, come back, you're gonna come back, and they reverse. I'm like, okay, they're coming back, I'll stand my ground, and out of shotgun gets out this fucking huge dude, neck tattoos, huge gangster dude,
Sorry about this.
no, but fatter than you.
I lost some weight.
And he gets out, and I'm in my brain, I'm going, oh, here it is. I have to stand my ground.
I love being in that position.
And I'm calculating who's behind me, and I'm going, fuck, Joe just left. And I'm with 10, 14-year-olds, and I'm 20. So I'm like, fuck you, get in the car. And he goes, and he reaches for a gun, right? It's I pull it. He reaches for a gun in his sweatpants. And I'm like, fuck. So I make this decision, and I go, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to shout him down on it. And I go, you fucking pussy, you got to pull a gun on me and shit. Fight me like a man. Fuck you, I'm leaving this shit, then you fucking, you know. And I'm like, and in my mind, I'm going, fuck, I'm getting out of here. You know, because I don't want to get shot by this dude. And I like keep my, you know, I keep my ground and still leave. So it doesn't always work out, you know. So like, that, I mean, I've learned my lesson. I've definitely shut my mouth over the years because there are dudes that you step up to, like people like Holder, I'm sure. You step up and knock you right the fuck down.
You definitely got the respect of those 14-year-old kids. You're a damn.
Yeah, you never have
Yo,
seemed
you
tougher.
guys hear about Mike?
Yeah, you never seemed tougher than that moment, I'm sure.
Dude, that was one of the many step ups that I had. And like, again, they don't always go well, you know, so.
No, but I remember being like in my teenage years, and if somebody yelled something at me on the road, that I would start pedaling as hard as I could and get up to the car, try to smash the window and scream at them, whatever. And then like at a certain point, I remember I was riding in Austin when I was like maybe 26, and I'm riding down the street, and I just hear this dude go, "Nice bike. Those things are for little kids." And I just thought about it for a second, and I was just like, nope. I just kept pedaling. I was like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
I thought I had reached that age, but it comes and goes.
It depends on who you're with.
Yeah, it depends on who with, and it depends on the sentence. It depends on what they say. There's certain things that set me off.
Yeah.
You hate "This is not a playground." That is your least favorite one. That one is the worst.
It's called a skate park, not a bike park.
Yeah, that one. I think what gets me actually more is not when people insult BMX. It's when they insult me as an adult.
Yeah.
Like when they talk about like, why don't you get a fucking job? And I'm like, actually, motherfucker, you know. And then I go off and like, then I say all sorts of arrogant shit that I would never say in real conversation to you guys. I would never be like, fuck you, I'm this. But like at that point, I'm like rattling off my degrees and shit. You know?
I do the same thing. I do the exact same
I'm
thing.
so glad I don't have an education, so I'm not tempted to do that.
I was just telling the story yesterday on Snapchat that I went to jail for that. I got fucking pulled over in fucking Pittsburgh by holding onto a bus. I was holding on, like skitching on a bus. I get to the top of the hill. This guy just grabs me. He's like, "What the fuck do you think you're doing?" I'm like, "Who the fuck are you?" He's like, "You're going to jail." I'm like, "Who the fuck are you?" He reaches in, he pulls out a badge.
Oh,
he was undercover.
that
I'm
one's
like,
a bummer.
Yeah, and I was like, "Yo, I make more money than you. Fuck you."
And that never
That's
works.
always your argument on Twitter or
I'm not
whatever.
going to jail.
I went to Paris.
I got a passport.
I was in a frat.
Have you
But
seen
no,
him?
I'm glad that you we're on a little bit on the
Yeah.
same. See, he's like a logical tax-paying citizen, and he loses his shit just
You guys
like I
are
do.
just tweakers, though. I fucking someone could say anything to me when I'm out riding. It's like, yeah, all right, dude, fucking.
I have like an honor code, but like I've just learned like I learned to show my oath cops. That one I learned at about 18 after like 3 or 4 grand of tickets.
Yeah.
I have some crazy stories about it,
Yeah.
but I was like, this was not worth it because I would just lose it.
It never is. It never.
because
With
they're
cops
always gonna win.
especially, Yeah. There's
What
no
I do
reason
with-
to ever try.
What I do now, and it's both a good policy and the best policy, is I'm short to the point of making them mad. I'm just like, yep, nope, yeah, won't even make eye contact with them because I know I was like, I want to pretend that you don't even exist. I don't want you to even the respect of a human being when you're treating me like this.
I just
And
try to be really nice.
so I can't do it. I can't do it.
try.
My wife's
It's
like, you
so
should just try
hard
that
to.
sometime. I'm
They
like,
give
nah,
me a
fuck
ticket.
it.
I'm like,
hard.
thank you. You know, it's whatever. I'm
But
just,
it's
so hard.
But the
to-
problem is, I have like certain. One time, this like good Samaritan dude pulled my wife and I like pulled up next to us at a stoplight, and he's like, pulls up to the window. He's like, you realize you're going like 50 miles an hour? And I was like, yeah. So are you a cop or something? Like actually curious. He's like, no. What's your name? And I go, what the fuck does it matter to you? And I'm like, it's like I'm boiling, and my wife's just like, she doesn't notice it, right? And he's like, what's your name? Where are you from? And I just suddenly, out of nowhere, I'm like, I'm an American fucking citizen. And I'm screaming at this guy. And I don't know. And I'm losing it about like, you know, because for some reason I thought he was like questioning like I don't know what.
Your
and
citizenship?
Yeah. And we drive away at like,
yeah, like Americans don't
Are you
drive.
even
They
legal?
drive.
we drive away at
You're
like
not
60 miles an
American.
hour.
An American doesn't drive that fast.
And
You're
my
not
wife
an
was
American.
like, what the fuck was that? Why did you blow up? And I was like, this is what happens on the streets when I'm riding. Sometimes something just happens, and I say stupid shit.
But how would you describe the anger problems that you have when you're trying a trick?
That's subsided. I mean, I think there's like a long history of that with a lot of riders, and you can tell stories about
That's
that.
definitely true. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I used to like just get mad and throw my bike when I was like, I can't pull this, and I would freak out, and you know. And I've learned now that I only get mad when it's something that, like, if I can't do something that I know I should do, like if it's like, oh, I keep fucking up on this half cab, and it's like, dude, you've done 10 million half cabs, then I get mad. But nowadays that I'm learning new tricks or trying something super tech, I just go, do you realize how tech this is? It's going to take you a million tries. I get disappointed now more than
You
anything.
need to just accept that you're trying something that is not
Yeah.
consistent, you know?
And that's the thing I think that a lot of kids forget. Like shit's hard.
Yeah.
Therefore, it's hard. I mean, that's why it's like
when you're young, you have that arrogance where you're like, I should be pulling everything because I've pulled this before and I know how to do this.
I also get mad if other circumstances stop me.
Yeah.
If I get kicked out or if it's raining or snowing, which has happened many times in my past on video, it's like that I will lose my temper about, because then it's like I'm racing time, which is that's not my fault.
You know what I was thinking about the other day? I was watching this video where like these kids are fighting with these like normal people in like a skate park, and they're like going at it super hard. And a lot of the comments are people who just really do not understand why the BMX kids are so mad. And this video actually has like an asterisk by it, because when I posted it on the Come Up YouTube, I did not mention the fact that it's called like viral Facebook fight. If you search that on the Come Up YouTube or whatever, I didn't notice that the kid says the N-word under his breath at one point during the argument. So it's kind of like way more fucked up than I thought it was when I posted it. Wow. But the weird thing about it is like these kids are yelling like about the kids getting in the way at the skate park, and like all the people in the comments, they don't understand why these kids are so upset. But think about how mad you've gotten in your life at people getting in the way of the skate park. Like I've screamed at little kids.
I've bent handlebars. I've fucking bent handlebars where I just throw my bike. I get so mad.
A kid ran right in front of my bike one time when Nate was filming me when I was trying to do this manual line. The kid ran right in front of me, and I just let go of my bike, and the bike hit him so hard. and then there's like a second of silence in the clip, and I just go, watch where you're fucking going. And like,
now I don't feel so bad about it.
I was raging out because this kid had gotten in my way like 10 times, and like I'm so mad. And Nate said that every fucking person in the skate park was like, ooh, like horrified by the way I yelled at the kid. So shout out to that kid. Fuck you. I never put the clip out.
I got an amazing photo that Miles took of me one time. I was riding an Oklahoma skate park. I kept trying this line, and this kid got in my way, and I got so fucking pissed that I was standing on top of the quarter. I just took my bike and full on like 360 and launched my bike, and then I started walking at the camera, and there's a picture of me walking right at Miles, and there's this little black kid on the fucking ground like this, where my bike just came right down on his head.
It hit him?
Oh my God.
Rest in peace, that little kid.
Did it hit him?
Yes.
Landed on him up here. We actually, remember in Memphis, the little kid threw sand in my face?
That was ridiculous. We were riding. It was like really hot, so we were riding at night to try to avoid it. And
midnight.
It was still
this
really
is
hot.
relevant. It's midnight.
Yeah, it's like midnight. Little kid is there, but he's with his parents. But they're like obviously, like young parents. They're not really
He's
paying
like
that much
3,
attention.
and it's midnight.
And Mike's trying something on this rail, and we're filming at night, which is already like, something we wouldn't probably do if we didn't have to. So we're like stressed because we had gone on this trip, and then nothing happened, and it rained, and it was hot as fuck. And this kid is like coming closer and closer, and he's just being like a rambunctious little, he's like 4 or some shit. And he's grabbing handfuls of sand and just like throwing it at Mike while he's on the fucking rail. And it's like going in his face and shit. And I'm like, this is taking Mike every ounce in him to not freak out, at least freak out. I knew he wasn't going to punch a 4-year-old, but like I thought at some point like he was going to have like a screaming match with the child's parents or something. And the parents, it's like midnight, and the parents are just like, I don't know,
they're like a block
the
away, like necking over on the bench. Yes, necking.
That's what you call it because you're like stuck in the 50s.
Yeah. Have you seen?
Are you stuck in the 50s?
No, the 50s sucked. It was all everybody was racist and obsessed with getting a shitty job, and I mean it was a shitty. I think it was a shitty era.
You ever see like young girls like romanticizing like olden times so hard that they're like, oh, like I should have been born in the 50s. I should have been with Aubrey Hepburn.
Oh, so you couldn't have rights? I mean,
exactly. Like, we're doing awesome not being able to be on the same bus as a black person.
Yeah.
And like, there's different water fountains. Yeah, it sounds so cool.
I learned actually philosophically, I've learned actually a lot about my life, and one of the ways to be happier in life is to not dwell in the past.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do that. I think BMX has got a lot of problems with that right now.
Oh God, yeah.
And because first of all, everything's idealized in the past. You forget about all the bad, you remember only the good. Mm-hmm. And 2, it's like that is the past. Like I miss a lot of things. I mean, there are things about BMX that I miss from 2004 or whatever.
Waiting for the DVD. This is a conversation everybody has, like waiting for the DVD. It was so fun. But realistically, if you had told me when I was 15, like, hey, one day you're going to be able to just get on your phone and watch like infinity new BMX videos every day, you'd be like, oh, this is so great.
Yeah. So I mean, times change, and what it really is for me, it's embrace what's happening now.
Exactly.
So like that's like maybe a good transition here to talk about. I mean, the modern state of BMX. It's like people just need to like accept that BMX is an ever changing culture, and I mean, it's young.
It's young people,
I mean, and it's a young sport culture. And that's what I think. Remember, I talked about how like in Horizon, that video, I realized that like I was part of BMX. I was like, we are making BMX culture. today, last month, 10 years ago. So it's like, that's what's so cool about BMX, but it's like, accept it. And if your part of BMX culture doesn't exist anymore, then just do whatever you want to do, but don't get salty that it isn't. I was salty when I was 16 and what I thought was BMX didn't exist. You know what I did? I just kept doing what I did. And that's it. And I had a blast. And you know what? I didn't like going to skate parks. I just didn't go to skate parks.
Yeah.
So you know what? And I just found dudes that rode street. And
but
boom.
Now
I was
it's like
happy.
something like everybody has to kind of like define themselves by what they don't do. Like it's like, oh, you're a street rider, but you hate skate plazas. It's like, all right. Like for me, it's so weird because it's just like I'm old enough to be like, all right, you're doing this like whole tough guy, like hardcore street rider thing. Like I get it because I did that. I thought I was a badass because I only rode street for many years of my life, and I'm lucky that I like. But at the same time, I can't hate on that kid for acting like that because it's just like even when the kids talk shit about me, they're like, oh, plastic pegs, you guys ride skate plazas all the time. It's like, dude, I get it because I was fucking like too hardcore for my own good back in the day too. Like,
You still are.
and I still am. Man.
I mean, I think people like sometimes like when I say I'm a street rider, like people like oh, you're pigeonholing yourself, blah blah. And I'm like, no, it's the reality. I like to ride street.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean, and that's I think people think it's like an offensive term now. Like people say it's like when I say I'm a street rider, people think I'm saying I'm straight edge. It's not the same.
Yeah.
Like when you say you're straight edge, it has this like it's analogous with saying I'm against something, right?
Right, yeah.
But when I say I'm a street rider, it's not saying I'm a street rider because I'm against other types of riding.
Yeah.
I'm a street rider because it's just what I do. And I prefer to be, I'd rather ride a curb than ride a skate park.
Right.
And that's not because I like, oh, fuck skate park. I like riding skate parks. I just prefer street.
I like the
because-
experience of it. More,
yeah, I
you
just
know?
like being, I don't like sharing with other people. I like being with 2 or 3 of my friends on a corner, and I progress better that way. That's just, and that again, let's remind myself, that's me, M-E. And you know what? It doesn't hurt me that other people ride skate parks. But I think now in this day and age, people get so butthurt about what everybody else is doing. Who gives a shit
Because
about
they
Adam
know
LZ,
so
what he's
much,
doing?
yeah.
If you don't like him, who cares? Adam LZ doesn't do anything to me, so it doesn't affect me. And I think people think it affects them because it is our culture.
Yeah.
But the reality is,
Nobody has ownership of it.
Yeah, and-
and
Yeah,
But
Adam
he's been
LZ
doing so much for the last 2 years. Nobody said shit about it.
But
And
LZ
then he pops up, and
really-
now everybody wants to pop off and voice their opinion on
He
it.
really doesn't care what anyone else is doing. You know, like he doesn't know what anyone else is doing. He's never read a fucking BMX magazine.
He only
you know?
watches like a very small amount of BMX videos himself.
and
seems like.
people hate on him for that. Like he gets hate like in that whole like Instagram thing because he was talking about how he hadn't seen certain videos or whatever. But it's like a lot of people in BMX who are like super hardcore brag about that
yeah, they
stuff.
love
like,
talking about how they
I
never
don't watch
see
everything on
whatever
the come up.
video.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
like
of course.
I watch one video a week. Blah blah blah. That's totally fine. Like that's a great thing for you if that helps you experience BMX the way you want it.
he's a prime example though of, I mean, I would classify him with Tim Knoll
Yeah.
as in a different way, as a prime example of do whatever the hell you want to do.
Yeah.
Tim Knoll does whatever the hell he want to do, whatever the hell he wants to do, and I don't care. And that's what I think also makes street riding so awesome is, for me, is that I can pick the people I'm with. And that's why BMX is so great for me is I just pick my best friends and I ride with them. And if I want to meet other people, I go to the park or I go to an event, and that's awesome. And that's me. And again, I keep saying me, because the reality is BMX is about doing what you want to do. And I think people get so lost. And they would argue that's like a short-sighted thing because we are building a culture and we need to worry about like, oh, well, Adam's changing the sport. No, just don't go to the come up if you don't like street riding right now.
Yeah.
Go somewhere else. And that's okay. And people are like, well, he's dominating it only because you're letting him. Like you dominate what you dominate. I'm not sucking up here. The reality is you do what you want to do. And I don't agree with everything the come up does because I'm not the come up. I don't agree with everything anybody else does because I'm not them. I do what I want to do. And that's why BMX has always been so awesome. I don't have a coach. I don't have a team that has rules. You know how the Madeira team works? Ride your bike, shred, have fun, give me some footage once in a while, boom, done. Like, we're putting, and here's a little drop, we're putting a new guy on, and I'm not going to tell you who right now, but he rides everything, and he kills everything. And I would actually argue that his style outside of street is probably my favorite thing to watch of his.
Is this person Rob Nolly?
I wish.
Damn, that is
But,
sick. I did see Rob Nolly just recently.
He asked me, he goes, is it going to be an issue that I ride everything? And I said, no. That's fucking
Yeah,
awesome. And I
that's
know
crazy.
people think Madeira is a street brand, which, I mean, we do have that vibe, and that's fine because it's what we like to ride, a lot of us. But I'm like, I can't wait for you and Tom to go put a trails edit out. And that's awesome. Like, I love that. Like, you know, so it's like, if you don't like something, don't do it. If you do like something, do it. And I think that people it's not like you're forced to go to the come up or even listen to this podcast of me or listen to what you have to say.
But think about how weird it is that everybody just does their own thing. Every single company in BMX is doing their own thing. But then somehow when certain companies or people or brands become seemingly outliers in terms of popularity, like TCU or Adam LZ, then all of a sudden it's something to be offended by, because it's why are you getting this many views when this legendary rail boss is getting this many views? And it's and people just do what they want to do.
Views for the come up are a measure of something, because that's how the come up functions, and that's fine. Garrett Burns doesn't need views.
Right.
Now, Garrett Burns is a prime example of this, because Garrett Burns, apparently people think he quit or whatever he is. Obviously by that one video you see, he did not quit. He's still unbelievably amazing. And he's a prime example of that. You don't see him on the web very much. You don't see him on Instagram very much. You don't see him doing that stuff. And did that change anything for Garrett? Sure doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
Looks like he still does the same thing and loves it, and people still respect him. Right. And just because, I think people think that what? I'm sure Garrett's happy. I'm just assuming, or other people in Garrett's shoes. So why do people think that it's bad that he isn't on the come up, let's say? Who gives a shit? Garrett isn't trying to get 10,000 views, be on the come up and get sponsored by Stranger. So what's it matter? So there's, I just freestyle. It's free. And I get so mad when people try to pigeonhole everything. Yeah. And then they come back, well, you say you're a street rider. I'm like, no. I'm saying I'm a street rider because if you ask me what kind of things I ride street. But I'm not saying I'm a street rider, fuck everything else. There's just this adversarial culture that's grown up in BMX, and I think the internet has a lot to do with it, and in this the young millennial generation. And whatever, we can complain about that all day, but the reality is BMX is self-made. Let's just stop bitching about it and make it awesome still. Make what you want. And we see that. There are awesome crews everywhere doing awesome stuff. And again, I'm using the come up because I'm standing here in the come up. But I'm saying there are lots of crews out there that don't associate with the come up, that do their own thing, and that's totally great.
Right.
And this is just one part of BMX. It happens to be a large part right now, and that's awesome. But who gives a shit as long as we're all on bikes having fun? Because the reality is, if you can all meet up at a spot and high five when someone does a feeble grind or an air, then nothing's changed.
Yeah. Right. Everybody's just doing the best they can.
Yeah, really, the reality is, if you all just rode your bikes and smiled, life would be great. There'd be less drama in the BMX industry. Of course, there's industry drama with selling product and stuff, but that's a total different thing. So I don't know. I'm sure we could get way deeper in this, but it just frustrates me because I think that BMX is a place for positivity, and people pick the negativity out. And I'm like, just look for the positive, not the negative. You don't have to be a Jeff Dowland and be like, everything's great all the time. Some shit sucks.
Dude, it only kicks in once people start to be able to say Devin Smiley got 300 times as many views as my video got, or this dude is making a bunch of money and I'm not.
Or he gets more Instagram, or people put him on Instagram more. So what?
I always see these weird loser people complaining about Instagram followers and all this shit, and I'm just thinking what? They're oh, kids these days just only care about Instagram followers. And I know they're talking about the kids that are in their town that have 200 followers or some shit. And I'm just is that how kids act? Because I have no fucking clue, and I don't give a shit at all. I have a fucking inbox on fucking Instagram every day of kids begging for a fucking shout out. But that doesn't make me sit around and say oh, BMX is fucked up because kids just want shout outs. I'm just who cares? I just ignore it. I don't give a fuck what they think.
Different, and different isn't wrong. People have to accept that. And from all of our own lives, I'm sure you can picture a time in your life 10 years ago. Take BMX out of a picture. I don't know. For me, it was the music scene, hanging out with my music friends. That's gone. I can't go to a metal show in Milwaukee anymore and have that same feeling with my. And I can't recreate it. But it doesn't. I'm not that old guy that goes to shows now and goes, "This fucking sucks. This music sucks. You young kids don't remember what it was like." Which there are those.
There
people.
are a lot of people
and
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's embrace what you had and move forward and pick something new. And what's cool about BMX is that BMX transforms. You don't have to change your tricks. I haven't changed my tricks. I do the same goddamn tricks. You know what I mean? You don't have to change your tricks if you don't want to. Yeah. No, if you want to be the coolest, hottest rider ever with 1 million Instagram viewers and be sponsored by 17 companies, well, you're going to have to, quote unquote, sell out, I guess. You're going to have to change for what that calls for. But do what you want to do. And that's why I'm so stoked to be part of companies like FBM that are all about what I'm about, and that's having fun with your friends and riding bikes. Mm-hmm. That's really what it's all about.
And it's just FBM shouldn't be judging themselves by the metrics of like, oh, like it sucks that our team isn't as popular as some other team or our brand or whatever. It's just like that shit. Like it's weird when people act like it matters that much, because I think that the people like who have a lot of followers or whatever, they don't give a, like Stevie doesn't give a fuck that he has 250,000 followers. You know, he barely even knows that he has a 250,000 followers. But like he's like the type of person that like people would hate on it and be like, oh, like, you know, BMX is so fucked up, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Who's knocking? Oh, is it the tattoo dudes again?
Some wild shit popping over here.
They're always tapping.
But no,
Calf has dropped the scale.
I think it's funny you say that because like you know, talking to Steve Crandall, you know, he has a clear mission for FBM, and the more I know him, the more I get to know him over time, the more I realize that he hasn't deviated from that mission. You know, and someone's like, well, it's fire, beer, mayhem. I'm like, it's more like friends and bikes in mayhem. I mean, and it's always been that mission.
Friends, bikes, and MILFs.
And
Hold on. What would you say?
What's happening out there?
This one.
Drugs? What? Pablo, the dude who cut my hair today. He said he's bringing me a bunch. Yes.
Pablo looks like Pablo Escobar.
He said he's bring. Do you want to let him in?
It's loud. It's wasted.
Yeah, just don't.
Yeah,
let
bring him
yeah.
in. Bring him in. Let's get him on the show. Let's get him on the show.
What the fuck?
This is all
Nah,
gonna have
just
to get. This is all
ignore him,
gonna have to get cut out
He's
of the
got
show.
my number. He can hit me up. I don't
Skibbity
care.
bop ba doo
No,
bop.
you can leave it in. I don't care. That's the first time I've ever heard anything like that. No, if he's drunk, no, don't. Just tell him that we're busy and then we'll talk to him later. A
5
half
minutes.
hour. At least a half hour.
No, so yeah, like he hasn't deviated. Steve Crandall hasn't deviated, and like you said, measuring by the same metrics, it's, you know, he's concerned because he realizes that he also, the brand needs to adapt a little bit if it's going to
Right.
be a brand, and that's where this gets challenging. It's when you're trying to sell products,
Right.
and to keep a business, you know, you have to understand. But Crandall is uncompromising in his belief of what FBM is about, and I think a few years ago, I wouldn't have understood that until I truly hung out with him and talked to him. I was like, holy shit, I get it. I so get it. Like, you don't... And I think he gets frustrated because he sees the extremes. It's either exactly what FBM was 10 years ago or Adam LZ. And again, I'm not dogging Adam LZ. It's just an easy example. In
Adam
contemporary.
LZ now is what FBM was like when I was fucking 14. Like he's like pretty much the most recognizable dude in BMX. And like Crandall and FBM were that at that time.
Yeah.
I get the frustration though, because it's like it's more like the fact when you're like, oh, I'm an older dude. I don't necessarily give a shit about Instagram, but now Instagram is this thing I have to deal with if I want to sell bike parts, and I'm gonna have to kind of compare myself to all these other brands
Yep.
that have 10 times as many follow. I don't know how fucking FBM does on Instagram, but
Pretty
it's-
well, actually. Pretty stoked on that.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
like I think 10,000.
No, I think it's like 30,000.
Yeah, he's at like 30,000.
Well,
Yeah. I mean, and actually, it's a testament to his adaptability, yet his like, you know, his stay to it. You know, I mean, like it's tough. It's a tough in places like in Dig and FBM. It's like they have the OG style, but it's tough. You have to blend that with this modern change, and oftentimes I think the come up in OSS are seen as like the harbingers of that.
Yeah.
But the reality is you're just riding the wave. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's fine, and that's a good thing. Like you're riding this wave, and that's why you're popping off now because you've adapted to this style. Well,
But if you think about when like the come up started, like what was the style? The video element didn't even matter. It was just that like raw, nonstop blog thing.
nonstop footage.
And then at a certain point, I realized like, okay, like we need to have like a different kind of
Yep.
connection with kids, you know?
And power, and again, power to you for realizing that it's all about adaptability. And Grant and I have talked about this, and like people like will dog you for like, oh, chicken and rice, where the fuck is that? You know, and it's like all those things. It's like Grant says, like Adam, just try shit, and if it works. And this is what's so funny.
You gotta fail fast.
Yeah, it's as a teacher, this is what we teach our kids. Like learning how to fail is the most important thing you can learn, because what it really shows you is try. If you don't succeed, try something else.
Yeah.
And now the caveat though is you can't compromise, and that is where something like FBM that has a really strong direction, it's tough because you want to try and fail and move forward, but you can't sell out. And I think Crandall's doing a really good job with it, but it's a challenge. I mean,
because
it's a challenge.
he has an audience that like expects a certain thing from them.
100%.
And then, whereas like if you look at like TCU or Adam LZ, it's like we're not like straddled with this like old school like train of thought. Like nobody LZ didn't have anything to live up to. He had only upwards to go, and like sort of in the same way for TCU. It's a weird concept.
Yeah, I mean, and again, it sucks because
The Rolling Stones couldn't make an EDM album no matter how bad they wanted to. You know? They're
agreed.
stuck in a style and it works for them.
That's a great analogy.
But if it stopped working and they tried to do something like that, we all know that it probably would not be a good thing. Yeah,
Jesus. No, it's a great looking at it, and the bummer about it is that Rolling Stones, they do sell albums. The problem is that people continue to go to concerts, and here's the problem for FBM: is people that buy FBMs don't buy them that often because it's a badass bike. So you buy an FBM at 25 and you kind of ride and you're kind of like, I'm moving on from you guys. You're going to have that for 10 years. And so our demographic is dying off and the young kids don't quite get it. So it's like, that's the hard balance, so
because buying a bike is a singular decision, or like buying parts or whatever. Like if you buy a frame, that's your frame for a couple of years or at least a year. And it's weird to think that like when it comes to like supporting bands, like every music fan could go to multiple different concerts and buy multiple different CDs.
Thing,
and then bikes are different because it's like what is going to make a kid go with a certain brand over Fit or Cult or Stranger, like certain companies that like put a lot of money into marketing and put a lot of money into their team and all this stuff. And so then like for a small bike company who's competing against them, it's a real challenge.
And I think our answer to that question is, and by our, I mean both Madeira and FBM actually, a lot of times is kids will buy stuff that they're stoked on the people that are a part of it. So it's really, I mean, it's pretty simple. We all know it. I mean, it's really, they want to know you. They want to be involved. So FBM's big thing is to meet a lot of people, and and that's how they do it. It's handshakes and high fives, and that's how you get people to be stoked on what you're all about.
Have you been to a lot of the events up in New York that they do and stuff?
Back in the day, I went to a lot of them, and then
Binghamton.
I went to Binghamton so many times, like to East Coast Terminal for like I went to 2 of the Ghetto Jams, a bunch of the ECT like La Revs and like all those different ones, and I mean those changed my life. I mean. I think of all the people I rode with. I mean, I remember I rode with, I was watching the contest, watching like Doyle kill a spine, right? And I was like, this is sweet. And I'm standing next to Seth Kimbrough, Kelly Baker, and Seth turns to me, and I don't know him. He, for some reason, he knew that I was like trying to ride street or something. He's like, hey, you want to go ride some street? He like whispers. He gives me like a daisy or something. He's like, you want to ride some street? And I was like, in my brain, I'm going, fuck yeah! It's Seth Kimbrough, So I'm like, yeah. He's like, meet me outside in like 5 minutes. So,
amazing.
So I go meet him outside. I'm fucking amped. I'm like, fucking yeah. And he's with Butcher. And I'm like, fuck. I'm like, dude, this is fucking crazy. So we go ride. So this is a funny story. So I'm pedaling down the street in Binghamton. And it's me, Seth Kimbrough, and Butcher, full throttle. We're like going there. He has a spot he wants to go to. So this is the era of peg bunks, mind you. It's like the early 2000s.
Right.
So I'm just like, riding the streets. I'm jumping over curbs and peg bunking and like nose bunking shit. And I'm just chink, 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 peg bunking and everything. And
it's always the Milwaukee kids.
Yeah. And like fast forward like a couple hours, and I hear someone's like talking to Butcher, and they're like, fucking peg bunks. I fucking hate peg bunks. And Butcher's like, I fucking know. And I'm just thinking about, God, I had just done like 200 peg bunks in front of Butcher, and he must have thought I was like this weird Midwest kid.
That must have been so awkward.
Yeah. Super
because
funny.
as a kid too, like it's impossible for you to comprehend that like somebody might hate a trick and not hate you.
Yeah,
you kind of think it's like got to be the same
Butcher.
thing.
You think he's gonna,
He
pull
probably
his
had,
sawed off out of those
He
pants.
probably like wasn't even talking about you at all. He's
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
like, you're riding the street doing peg bunks. He's probably talking about like, the overuse of the peg bunk.
Yeah,
But he,
totally.
he's just like, you're not
Yeah.
even probably part of it, but you're all self-conscious because you're riding with fucking Butcher. It's like a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
I remember when I was like a young, like 17-year-old kid, I hated peg bunks and I did them.
Yeah.
Like I would go to the skate park and just be pissed off at everybody doing them because it was like, I thought it was kind of cool. Like when I would do it like in my local scene where there was nobody doing it, but then I go to like the big indoor skate park and everybody would be doing it. And I'd just be like, oh, like this is gross.
I can't do them on quarter.
I grew up-
I love them on curbs.
Andy Kent. I mean,
The man.
the
man.
peg bunk master.
Yeah?
I mean,
Oh,
he,
yeah, hell
I don't
yeah.
think.
like,
Tech.
he was he blew his knee out right before the web edit hit.
Okay.
So like he had like a DVD. He had a part in McNeil and whatever. So
Hey, there's a camera right there. Watch out. There's a camera right there. You're standing right in front of it. Yeah. What are you saying?
he was. I mean, wow. For the
Hey, maybe we should meet up with you at the bar later or something because we got like at least like another like 40 minutes of this. And you're like in front of the camera still. You should probably go.
Skibidi bop a doo bop a doo bop ba. The Come Up TV. What the fuck just happened?
That dude cut my hair like 4 hours ago.
He couldn't even speak English.
That's my barber. No, he speaks English. He's just
Go
seems
barber.
like he's really fucked
He
up.
was so drunk he couldn't speak.
Did you close the door? Yeah. Okay.
What? Thanks, Biz.
So then wrestled his buddy out of the thing.
Whoa.
Yeah, he's so drunk.
Is he drunk?
Yeah, he hits me up trying to get me to like party with him and do cocaine, and I've never done it because I don't want to just go do drugs.
Is that
with
what
some guy.
cocaine does to you?
That is at least that's definitely a part of what's going
I
on
don't ever
You've never
wanna
done
do that.
cocaine, or you've never done it with that guy.
with that guy.
Because you told me this a couple stories.
No, yeah,
What
I
a
mean, I've
red-hot,
definitely done
throbbing
cocaine in my life,
coke-cock.
but he just is always trying to like fucking party whenever he sees me. So, I mean, I have hung out with him, had a few beers at the bar, and he's fine. He's just like annihilated, which is kind of crazy because he cut my hair like 4 hours ago. And
I just don't understand,
Managed to
like,
get very drunk in between.
What the people on camera can't see is that he was doing something over here, and
Like
Adam
the police
yelled.
came.
Yeah, and Adam yelled at him, and he got down on both of his knees and put his hands behind his head like we were
But
the
do you-
police.
No, he's not.
That's the cops.
You know
That's
he-
the cops.
You know he can hear us.
Listen, everybody, let's pretend we're sleeping.
He always does this. No, I didn't. Do you really consider that yelling? I don't feel like I yelled.
No, not
I
at
was
all.
just
super
like,
calm.
yo, yeah.
You were
'cause-
super. He was pissed at me because like I was like the condescending guy who was just like, yeah, we're coming. You know.
No, we're like friends, so that's why I couldn't really like yell. If that was anyone else, you know how I would have reacted?
I know.
Yeah.
What do you pay for a haircut?
$30.
Fuck, man. I moved to DC and it's just like 45 is like a deal.
45, really?
Yeah, and the dude's awesome. He rides bikes and stuff, and he's the dude at the counter's like a BMX dude too. But I don't mind supporting my like homies. But
See, in Long Beach is 20. No, and here it's 30.
Yeah, in Hollywood it's 40.
shit, I gotta eat my
Yeah.
Kit Kat.
I got my hair
Think
cut the other day.
But the place I go is like right downtown LA, so like they probably charge more. The place I went in Long Beach though was kind of a nicer place, and it was 20.
Mine's a hipster like joint, like in the hip part of
Yeah,
DC.
mine's a
Yeah.
hipster place too.
And there's just so much money in DC. That I
Dude,
feel
it's
like,
so expensive there. I can't.
How long
believe
have you lived there?
Yeah, how did all this happen with your current living situation?
Oh, that's like a background there. Like, my wife's awesome. Short and simple. She works.
She's a hardcore girl, so I assumed.
She's yeah. I mean,
and she's
awesome.
punched people.
I want to
Yeah.
see her mosh.
I've never actually seen her mosh.
Well,
I don't think
it
she's much. of a
definitely
dancer.
happens.
But I mean, I've seen her punch. I was always the mosher, and I mean, yeah, embarrassed.
I'm the mosher.
I am the mosher. No, she got a job. She's like, I want to get a job where I get paid to travel. And then she like did a bunch of stuff and ends up working for the State Department, the United States government, and basically she works at embassies. So as her husband, I go with her. So every 2 to 3 years, we just go to another embassy. We get to pick a little bit. In the beginning, it's it's seniority based. So in the beginning, you kind of get like whatever. But we end up getting somewhere really awesome. We're going to Ecuador at the end of June. But it's awesome. We get to move all over the world, basically.
How long are you going to be there for?
I mean, about 2 years usually.
Oh, wow. Holy
Yeah.
shit,
So.
that's awesome.
So you're still in the process of doing these like 2-year stints all over the place?
Yeah, well, she in between each stint they do training, language training. So she works like basically they teach you any language in like 6 months, like fluent. But it's like 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week for 6 months. Wow. So she's in her Spanish training right now. She knows Spanish, but I mean, I'm talking like you got to be able to talk politics with like politicians. So like. She's in Spanish training, and we're in DC. I mean, we're like right over the water in Arlington, but it's like I can throw a rock into DC, and we've been there for 3.
Don't do that because that would be terrorism and a hate crime.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I don't throw anything into DC. It's quite tight.
Over
But
the fence at the White House?
dude, there's like always crazy stuff going on. Like like there's always
Protests or what?
no, it's just always. I mean, there's always people, but there's always cops everywhere in DC. I mean, it's like it's tough. It's a tough street riding situation because there's a lot of good stuff.
You have to go to the hood, huh?
Yeah, and unfortunately, like there's only a few dudes. There's like, I mean, I think there's only 2 or 3 guys that actually live in the district,
Right.
Like in it. And everybody's busy, so I don't get to ride with as many people as much as I want to. And there's a lot of dudes that ride, but they're all like 40 minutes out. So like, I end up being in the district alone a lot, and it's like I don't know the hood enough there yet to go alone. And I've been told not to go by a lot of people, which isn't. I'm usually just fucking. I'm going.
Young Galeesh would be one of the people that would probably tell you not to go to the hood alone. Yeah.
Yeah, so I know it's a fairly rough hood in some spots, and I've been there a few times. But I mean, there's so much to explore that I haven't had to go yet. I mean, that's the reality. I live on the opposite side of the city from it, so like I've just been kind of doing like it's weird exploring a whole new. After living in one city for 20 years,
How long you been there?
3-4 months now. So after living in one city for 20 years. Where organically you grew and then it got systematic. Now I'm starting out systematic. So it's really strange. Like I pick a road and I go up it and I just weave back and forth. But I'm alone, so I have like a spot app that I use, like this like weird photograph app that has like tags or whatever. And
moving somewhere new when you're older and then you start looking at spots is weird, right?
Yeah,
because you're like, where the fuck do I start? And
it's overwhelming.
Your brain is more orderly as an adult.
Yes.
So when you're a kid, you just pedal wherever, you find something, you don't find something, whatever. As an adult, you have this instinct where you're like, if I'm gonna look through an area, I want to go up and down every street, and like
it slows you down. And it gets like, and I'm like somewhat obsessive compulsive about being organized. So like, it's hard for me because I'm like up road, down road, up road, down road, and I'm finding stuff, but it's a unique scene. Like, and I don't even mean that like BMX wise. It's just like the whole place. It's a weird place. I mean, DC and like, you know, I'm like a scumbag comparatively to everybody that I live around.
Right, yeah.
You know, because like I get like this look of like, get the fuck with this little kid's bike. You know, like because everybody's like 30 and. Career driven, and
we're
like,
talking about cost of living. Like, there's probably barely anywhere more expensive than that. Yeah,
it's insane. I mean, like,
there's just so many people making so much money.
Yes, and we aren't yet. So it's like and as a BMXer, it's like I'm used to just like getting food at a restaurant, sitting on the curb and eating it, and people are just like, "What the fuck are you doing on the curb eating food?"
Yeah, because if you were doing that in Barcelona, nobody would ever look at you twice because it's just more accepted that people are just sort of hanging out, chilling.
So yeah, I get a weird vibe from DC sometimes, like the actual district. But I mean, there's a ton of cool people out there. But like I said, nobody really. I mean, like, and Saunders lives there, but Saunders has like really badass trails that I want to see because I couldn't ride them, but I couldn't handle that shit. It's crazy. But there's a ton of cool people that I ride with, and it's just hard to get everybody together. I'm so used to such a tight knit scene and having Grant. Like Grant and I was like every day we're on the same wavelength. We ride the similar stuff. So it's different riding with dudes that like ride different stuff.
It's cool knowing that you're going to be there for 2 years though, because
I'm only in DC for a few months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But do you know where you're going next?
Yeah, Ecuador.
Oh, right. Okay.
So Ecuador, I'll be there for 2 years, and I know there's tons of riders there.
Yeah, Jonathan Camacho is the main dude down there.
Yeah, I think that's a new name to me already because I mean I've already been told like Mulville goes on there a lot. Yeah, so like I haven't even done the research yet. I know they're there. I'm gonna wait till it's closer.
There's a huge BMX scene. He was like the first guy that entered Simple Session, and the numbers, like when we're able to see the numbers of Simple Session, like where the numbers are coming from, the support he had in Ecuador was huge. So
that's
I'm assuming
awesome.
The BMX scene is pretty fucking good.
I think it's really just cool that you get to go live somewhere for a couple months and then or whatever, like a year, and like even if you don't like it, it's like
you're
fuck,
out.
you know all about it.
Yeah.
Like you'll always every conversation you're ever gonna have about Washington DC, you have like an informed perspective.
Yeah,
That's sick.
It's like that. We were talking about like traveling. It's just for a week or a month to get this like taste of all these different places. It's really cool. I mean, I lived in DC last summer for just a month, and then I'm now here for 3, and I'll be here for like another 4 or 5. So it's like I'll get like a full year in DC, which is enough to kind of start to understand it.
Yeah, you get it. Yeah,
and then like I'll go to Ecuador for 2 years, and then I'll come home for a couple months, and then I'll go. So it's like. We've got a pretty exciting life coming up, and it's cool because my wife was really awesome about it. Like, we got a giant list, and basically you kind of like rank the list of where you want to go, and you might get it, you might not,
right?
But you can try. And she basically just said to me right off the bat, she's like, "All right, wherever you can ride, put on the top." So like she allowed me to do that.
Awesome.
She said that was kind of like the one caveat with this career. I was like, as long as I can still ride, I don't care where we go. Which is the truth of it, right? As long as
from her, that's cool that she gets that because from her perspective, where you live is way less important.
I mean, it's awesome because
she can go to hardcore shows wherever.
Yeah, I mean, her brother rode growing up, so she knew BMX before me, and she's been kind of like the first lady of Milwaukee BMX for a long time. Helping me do. I mean, she helped run a lot of contests that I did. She helped.
Sarah Lampert is out here.
She's the first lady of.
Yeah.
Pay him absolutely no mind.
Southern California.
Jesus Christ. What are you doing?
I thought that was real.
That's not real.
You see that tattoo that she did on denim?
Just stop. Just stop.
Whatever.
You want to cover any other unimportant people on this? You want to talk about Bizzle? No?
Yes.
No,
all right. So
going.
what about Bizzle?
All right,
no, keep going.
No. So yeah, I mean, it's awesome that she understands it because it allows me to function. I mean, without her, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing. I mean, she's really like kept me going through BMX and like. There was a time where I almost like quit Madeira and fired everybody and quit the man. I was going to fire everybody on the team and then.
What were you so mad about?
I can't.
You couldn't pull a trick.
I can't pull this, people.
I can't pull this manual in 80. Everyone's off the team.
He breaks his bike, breaks his car. What else can I do? Ruin the company.
Yeah, no. It was actually company related. I just had gotten in. It was inner like friend politics and team politics. It was many years ago and. It was like right in the beginning of my tenure as TM, and I just couldn't handle it at the time. It was really hard. It's a challenging job.
It's a lot to juggle when you're juggling work and friends
and being a rider on the team. It's like you going from rider to boss and having to do both. and people forgetting that, like, hey, like, you're treating me like I'm your boss, but you got to remember, like, I'm also a rider on the team.
Right.
Like, everything that I do for you, I'm also doing for myself. So, like, I'm concerned about myself, too. So, like, it was, like, I was just super mad. And I remember coming home and just freaking out. And she talked me down. You know, I mean, I wouldn't have done it, but I mean, like, you know, I would never dog Matt like that or the company because I really, you know, obviously they've put so much time and effort into me and my friends. It's like, I would never do that. But I mean, I just remember being so mad about it. And she understood. She gets politics because I can talk to her about BMX politics. Like, I could tell her, oh, so-and-so, and she knows, like, what that person is. Like, I could list the bike rider and like, oh yeah, so-and-so is doing this. And she's like, oh yeah, it sounds like total so-and-so. You know, she gets it, but she also has a great space. She doesn't like want to be. She's like, I don't want to ride. She's like, I like I'll talk about the politics, but I ain't trying to like be a BMX girl. She's like, I got my own shit, you know. And I'm like, cool, I love this.
Hey, you know what I think we should talk about is how did you start hanging out with this guy?
Grant C. I can do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Grant, you told the story in your podcast where he referenced me a lot. So
there's probably a lot of people who are 2 hours deep into this one that didn't watch Grant's, right? Nah, I think if you're two hours deep into Mike Hinkens, you probably watch.
Are we
Grant
really
C.
that far in?
Yeah, and I'm hyped. Well, 136. Sorry, it's not 2 hours.
Dude, I feel bad.
Nah, it's good.
People are gonna be like, "Yo, shut the fuck up."
This is just such an easy conversation that it's like we might as well go long for the hardcore fans.
We're all friends, and people that are this far in are
if you
friends
still
and
are
they wanna
listening,
know.
and you give a shit about me,
And
I can I have your phone number probably.
I put out the Craig Passero one today, and I know that's one where we were like barely having a conversation by the end because Charlie and fucking Craig were so dabbed out that they were just like retarded.
I like that you had to preface the podcast by saying we were really high when we did this.
That's reality.
Yeah.
They were fucking high, and Craig didn't even really want to do it. And it's weird interviewing someone that you've talked to so much, but because I know everything about Craig, but also Craig's not a talker. Like I kind of know like most of the stuff that you're telling me right now, but it's like you like having a conversation, so it's whatever.
Yeah.
Craig was just like not with the program, you know.
Yeah.
With the glasses.
Dude, Craig is awesome.
He is awesome.
No, Grant C.
Grant C.
Which is crazy. Okay, this is gonna sound really fucking weird, Grant, but I've been riding.
Love you.
I've been. You should tell him about the text I sent you on the way here.
Me?
Yeah, I texted you about what Grant and I were doing.
You said,
You thought that I was Sean Hoskins.
That was cool.
Well, he said fish, and I was like, "Why?"
Hinkens has texted me, and I can actually look at it right here. He goes,
We'd planned to interview Mike, so we're narrowing it down. So Adam was texting him.
He texted me. I go, yeah, sounds good. I'm free both days at night, I think, and I believe Fish will be here. He said, Sean Hoskins? I go, that's the one. He goes, haha, wow. Okay, well, I'll bother you Wednesday a.m. to make some plans. And then I let it sit for a while. And I said, Catfish, you fucking retard.
I was like, damn, you're reaching, dude. Sean Fish.
Hoskins. I'd be tight if he gave me
That would have been super tight.
He would have done a crossbar manual right in the door,
Like a
dude.
really weird reference to.
No.
I can't believe you even remembered about Sean.
I remember. I think he was the first person who feeble pop up, hang 5, drop Smith.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Remember that?
don't remember much from BMX, but no. Grant, I was saying, what's weird about Grant is that I've been riding for 20 years this last summer, and I think about it, and I'm like, holy shit, like, I've been riding with Grant for 10.
Yeah.
That's
Which is
crazy.
probably the longest person that I've, like, Jeff K, maybe a little bit longer, but I mean, I don't ride with Jeff K that much. I mean, like, Grant and I, for the last, I'd say 7 years, have ridden together almost every day. So, like, it's really weird. But yeah, Grant, I think in his other podcast talk about, he showed up for college. I think you said that basically you were looking for a college and you wanted to pick a place that there was a poppin' scene. And what year was that?
2005, I graduated high school.
And that
So it would
was-
have been like 2000, end of 2005.
Yeah, so I mean that's when like, you know, Midwest BMX was blowing up,
Right.
and you know, like C4 had just closed, you know, a year or two prior, but I mean like the scene was huge, and people were making it, and sponsors and all that stuff. I mean, it was like the scene. That was when the Milwaukee scene was, I guess, probably its biggest for sure. Actually, the scene report happened, and that's when you showed up. I met him on one of the nights of the scene report, I think, right? Like,
Yeah,
Walter was living
someone
at my
invited
house.
Me, I had just moved, and someone had invited me to the skate park for like the after session, like to start filming the scene report because they sent Walter to Milwaukee in February.
What a
so
bad
I don't
idea.
know what the thought was there, like, well, you were gonna film like a street part in February, like,
Which we did.
Like these guys were riding street, but I wasn't like tight with them at all. So it was like, oh, come to the skate park. I think it was Jeff K, because he was like the first person I knew. Come to the skate park. We're all gonna be filming, like whatever. And I was like, oh, cool. I'll just go hang out because I'm not part of the scene. I just moved there. And then I don't know. One of them was like, oh yeah, you can. Walter asked me if I could film clips with, or he wanted to film with me, and I was like, I just moved here. I'm not really like part of the scene or whatever. And Jeff K's like, oh, it's cool or whatever. So I just ended up like riding with them, that kind of stuff. I'd already known whoever, like Jeff a little bit here and there, and just from like internet stuff, because I was like hyped on Midwest and I had a camera and obviously like looked up to him.
Right.
And then I ended up like going, and it was hurt and I couldn't do shit, and Mike was riding street and like wanted to go out, and I was like, well, I'll go film the guys. You know what I mean? I'll go film with the crew. Like, might as well. I can't ride, so I can skate around and like hold the camera while these dudes can ride, while I like kill my time being in college, having like a ton of free time.
Yeah.
And I just ended up riding with him there, like here and there, like wasn't in Mike's crew. Like,
I don't even know who my crew was at the time.
Yeah, I don't know if you were like in between having like a solid crew or whatever, but I rode most of the skate park at the time, and so I would only see Mike like very sporadically.
You're like the longest. You're like my crew in like the longest, because like I had a tendency, and I'm sure people can identify with this one, like I was a bike rider that stuck with it, you know, as I got older. So I, like, when I was 18, I had a 16-year-old friend. When I was 20, I had another 16-year-old friend. When I was 22, I had a 17-year-old. Because all the dudes at my age were dropping off. Right. Yeah. So I rode with young kids. I was like, whoever the hell wants to go ride street right now all day, I don't care who you are, let's do it.
People always make fun of me for hanging out with 21-year-olds. I'm like, no, like I'm going to be 40 hanging out with 21-year-olds unless I stop running a BMX website.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah.
Welcome to my world.
If I quit doing the BMX website thing, I'm sure I'm going to hang out with all kinds of interesting people that are older than me. Yep. But until then, I'm pretty much stuck hanging out with little kids.
I like you guys.
Yeah, and that's why I ended up with Grant, because he was my age. And we both saw eye to eye on a lot of things.
We are not the same age, by the way.
We are not the same.
Like
I am a monster.
5 years younger than you, but
that's closer than 16.
I know what you mean.
But he's a nerd. He went to college with me. We went to the same college and stuff. Like after I graduated, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but I'm just going to spring something on you right now. You claim that you're straight edge, but what about this photo of
God. You? No, I kind of had those eyes.
It just occurred to me that this would be really funny to like trick you into thinking I was going to show you an old photo of you and then show you.
I thought you were going to show me the picture.
That was in our group chat. For the people who don't know, it's a picture of Pepe the frog, and he's wearing a leisure suit and he's snorting cocaine.
I thought you were going to show me the picture that Crumlish paused the picture of my face on his computer.
Oh, let's talk about that. Yeah.
And then tipped it back and then put a joint
and then like held the joint up
over
to
my
it
mouth.
And, like, took
and
a
he's
picture
like,
of it.
I am Hinkens.
What about doing the Ruin Your Whole Summer intro? He took the footage of you.
I have no clips in Ruin Your Whole Summer except the intro of me dancing.
No, I think you have a clip throwing your bike in the credits too, right?
Yeah,
it's in slow motion.
I have the intro. Good. But no. So Grant like just came into my life, like that, and it was magical. And no, what it really came down to is he's devoted to BMX like I am. Like he just wants to ride and have fun every day, and he also is down to ride street. And he's not like not like, oh, he's down to fucking, search and be like, even though he is like hardcore. It was more like, I want to ride street every day. And he's like, okay, let's ride street every day. And that's just how it went. And we rode and filmed, and it was a good mutual relationship. We got along really well. We traveled a lot. And, he ended up getting on Profile. So it's all in the family kind of. And now he does all the Madeira video work. And basically, since I took over as TM, like that was my first step, was to kind of consolidate the video stuff. And the first thing I did was, all right, Grant, I want you to do everything from here on out. All the videos, all the editing. I can't afford Navaz. I'm sorry, so I had to. and I just did it because I wanted to be in the family, and also because I thought he was an awesome dude. So I mean, that's how we, I guess, started hanging out all the time.
Yeah.
So
makes sense to me.
Well, what do you if you're out riding? What kind of spot would you turn the car around for?
Coping ledge, fly ledge.
No way.
Oh, he doesn't. He could care less about like riding a new fly ledge. Like he
Okay.
would ride one.
I'll ride one,
there
but-
or whatever. But he's not gonna like search.
A wall ride.
Yeah,
A wall
for
ride,
sure.
yeah.
Like he'll
So-
always be like, "Oh, could you wall ride over that door? Could you wall ride over that rail or whatever?" And like we'll turn around and it's like there's no runaway or like
Yeah.
it's like you have to be backed in a corner or something. But that's the kind of stuff that I feel for him is like never ending because it could be anywhere. You know what I mean? So like you could like go around the corner and see some weird wall ride that no one's ever done. Like obviously in Long Beach. That's happened for years. You know
And
what I
yeah,
mean? Like all the best wall riders
as
like
your
live in the same
perspective
area,
changes,
and there's,
too.
Like everyone had been done.
Wall rides are like, to me, wall rides are one of the coolest tricks because suddenly everything's a wall ride because
Right.
there's like everything's a fucking wall. And there's if you
Can I quote you on that?
Everything is a wall.
and if you can wall ride, you can almost ride anything. I mean, like, so I mean, it just gets super diverse, and to me, it just became like a goal to like ride over. I mean, I'm a big proponent of black rainbows. I mean, that's like I love doing
Love
it.
seeing them.
Yeah, I love, and here, like L.A. and Long Beach, like it's just everywhere. In Austin too, there's 2 places. There's always black rainbows. And coming from a city where like I was the searcher for most of the years, I always had the pride of like I wanted to put the black rainbow there because I wanted to like be there with like my mom or something, be like, yo, look at that, and she'd be like, what? I'm like, yeah, I did that. He has no idea what the fuck it is, but I'm like, yeah, I put those marks on that wall up there. That was always my thing.
Catfish has a black dildo.
I do not.
I do. That was the most serious I've ever seen. I do not.
It's a matter of opinion.
I do not. We had one at the OSS house for a while.
A black dildo?
Remember, it was like a huge. I think it was Chris's.
Did I ever tell you I won a black fleshlight and never used it?
At a comedy club. At a comedy.
Where is
I
it?
told him this. I don't know.
I was here. I was there. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
me, him, and Chris Long went to a comedy club, and we're sitting there, and the guy, it's like a comedy club that's like attached to a sex shop or whatever, and it's like some famous one. What was it?
I think it was one in Long Beach.
No, it was in Hollywood.
Maybe I don't think they were the comedy club was sponsored by this shop for.
Right, but I think the shop is right next door or something. I don't know. But either way, the guy goes, "All right, we're gonna give this brand new fleshlight," and I'm like,
expensive.
I'm a dude who's never even thought about jerking off with one of these things, and I still kind of haven't. But he goes, first person to throw a condom on stage wins this, and I literally am wearing a jacket, I have my hand in my pocket, and my hand is on a condom. I'm like, ugh. Throw it up, boom! I get the fleshlight.
And we're all confused too because we just see Adam throw something. We're like, no fucking way. And the guy reaches down. He's like, who threw this? And Adam's like, me. We're like, you just want a fucking fleshlight.
That's one thing about me is I almost always have a condom on me, and I almost never use them. But just in case.
But now he uses the fleshlight as the condom, and he fucks girls with the fleshlight.
No, that's the thing is I had the fleshlight.
Which mouth was it? Or was it there's like a mouth, a butt, there's like a cube?
I had it in my room for probably 2 years, and then I moved out and I forgot it, and Chris Long did something with it. I don't know.
I wonder what he did with it.
I married it.
Pause.
Now,
He married
if you
it.
look at Chris Long's Facebook, it says in a relationship with this fleshlight, and you click on it, and there's a Facebook page called This Fleshlight. That's not true.
That's not true. I was with you for a second there.
I don't know.
I followed Fleshlight on Instagram for a while, and man, I was like, this is the worst Instagram ever.
But now I kind of think to myself, like, why did I not ever bang the fleshlight? Like, I kind of wish I did.
Yeah, I feel like you kind of missed out.
Just to try, like, because it's not like you're ever going to have like a casual fleshlight normally.
I announced
It's always going to belong.
I announced
to
a
somebody.
flatland contest a month and a half ago in Japan.
What's the company called?
Tenga.
You know, I was
researching those.
A big shout out to Tenga, to the Tenga organization. I showed up at the contest, and like I go into my hotel room. There's a nice little backpack, water bottle, little welcome gifts, and this thing that looks like a damn Kool-Aid container, like the powdered Kool-Aid. I'm like, what the fuck is this thing? I'm looking, it's like Tenga. I unwrap it and I take it up, and I'm like, oh, you definitely fucked this thing. They sponsor 2 riders.
The reason I was thinking about
the videos
the other
are
day,
really weird.
Amazing, right?
It's because I'm reading Aziz Ansari's new book, which is called Modern Romance, and it's all about sort of like modern like texting and sexting and like how the internet has changed relationships and shit. And like they're talking about the fucking Tengas. Like that's like the big brand name for it, huh?
Yeah, it's like they're huge.
Yeah.
They like make these things called Chad DeGroot's sponsored by them as well.
Yep.
And
he's been sponsored by them for a long time.
Yeah. And because he
gets paid.
Well, he just gets product from them. There's 2
but
riders.
like, how many fucking jerk off tubes do you need?
Trust me.
They're one-time use.
Well, some of them are. Some of them
the
are.
Tengas are.
The Tengas, the
They're
fleshlight.
not like fleshlight.
Yeah,
No.
fleshlight's wash.
Fleshlight's like $100, right?
Fleshlight. But no, Tenga makes a more expensive one. But Tenga also makes. Chad DeGroot gave me. They're called eggs.
Yep,
they're
egg.
little eggs, and they're like they look like an egg, like a regular chicken's egg, but then they're like weird plastic, and they like bend. You can like put your whole fist through it, and you fill that shit with the fucking lube, and you.
My question though is like, have you ever been jerking off and just thought like, this isn't good enough? I got to do something else. I got to switch it up. I got to get a machine.
Yeah, when I was like 14, and that's when I started setting myself on fire.
That's how man invented fire.
Exactly.
No, you're right.
Discovered fire.
Trying to do more, trying to be
Always
better.
wanna
So
do
what
more.
what will happen in the future due to these fleshlights? We don't know.
To me, the only improvement that you can make upon masturbation is to find a human female.
Warm.
I don't know. That's me.
Warm.
I love how we went completely other
Yeah.
end of the spectrum for your podcast. Like anybody that was
talked about
listening
everything.
I know, and we ended up with fucking plastic.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before. This
Where
is
does
kind of a
plastic
common
come
theme.
from?
Ask that
Mr.
shit.
Teacher Guy? It's a trick question. You don't have to answer that if you don't want to.
1776.
I'm a Barbie
1738.
girl living in a Barbie world.
Plastic is man-made. Comes from animal bones.
See, that's why I think that question is too complicated to answer. Where does plastic come from? It's like a whole thing.
Dead plants.
Dead plants.
10 million years ago.
But I can't even give you a basic answer to that question.
me
Where does
either.
plastic come from? I don't know shit about shit. I'm going to Google it right now.
It's a horror. I told you, I mentioned it on Snapchat yesterday. I got 100 different answers from 100 different people, and it seems to be a conspiracy. People don't know where it comes from. There's monomers and polymers, and they burn them and melt
if you
them
are
all together.
still listening right now, this is happening.
You know, I mean, dude, I listen to like Joe Rogan. I listen to people talk about the stupidest shit. So I'm willing to test the people and see if they will listen to
if
us
you're
talk about
still
stuff like this.
listening, I want you to text me right now.
Are UFOs real?
I mean, probably, I don't know.
That's a trick question as well, because UFOs are unidentified flying objects. Are
Obviously
aliens real?
You know, when you ask a question to Google, it like pops up an answer. This is the answer that pops up. Plastics can be either found in natural substances or may be man-made. Most of the plastics used today are man-made. Man-made plastics are known as synthetic plastics. Natural plastic products occur as such thing as animal horns, animals' milk. That really does not answer the question for me because
Man-made
I told you.
synthetics.
See, we're
They
going
make it
down
in a factory.
We are going down a wormhole here. We don't need to go
the main
down.
source of synthetic plastics is crude oil.
Of
That
course.
doesn't mean that much
Of
to me.
course, and crude oil means the Middle East, means 9/11, George Bush. It's all one big fucking conspiracy. I'm done.
How about this? ISIS, good or bad?
Oh, man.
Where is he going?
Catfish left.
over it.
We can't talk politics with Catfish around.
No, I actually feel like he's gone soft on the whole 9/11 was inside job thing.
Yeah.
He used to. One time at Hooters in China, he wouldn't finish his meal because I said that I didn't believe that George Bush was complicit.
What?
He was so
Hunger strike?
certain of it.
He put on a hunger
Brief
strike.
hunger strike. He probably had to go get food after that. It's not much of a hunger strike when you just go get something else after. He's probably not expecting us to just continue to talk without him. He's back.
Hey!
We just talked shit about you for a while.
All right.
I know you guys were talking about 9/11. I heard you.
You're back. Bring a Midwest question then, because you're from the Midwest. What do you got?
Who's your favorite rider from the Midwest?
I did not expect that one.
That's where we're here. Hard-hitting questions.
Oh, Jesus. That puts me on the spot. Let me,
Can I just name someone I like? Oliver Leonard.
yeah. Oh, God. Oliver was definitely.
Nowhere.
Yeah, Oliver Leonard. He appeared in the Milwaukee scene out of nowhere, like right after he blew up.
And then disappeared out of
I
nowhere,
rode
too,
with him.
right?
I rode with him for like a year straight. It's really weird. I don't know how I even got involved with him, and then he just disappeared.
Right.
It was really strange. And he's awesome. Cool dude.
Who
It's
were
funny.
your inspirations?
He was most known
Midwest
for
inspirations?
the peg tap and the manual 180, which were tricks that were like lambasted by everybody. Like
Yep.
fucking everyone
Well, he was
hated
so
them.
before
but he
his
did them
time.
so sick and so
Yeah.
cool. Like
And on everything.
he would do the fucking ice pick on a big ass sub rail
To
and then
drop
manual
in,
180
manual
down.
180.
Like what the fuck? Like nobody knew what to think of that at the time. That was
Yeah.
so sick. Yeah.
No, I would say growing up, my influences were certainly the dudes around me. I mean, Rich Mungle, like, really was a big one for me. Like, he was manualing, like, everything, like, in 95.
Yeah.
And, like, feeble grinds. And then, like, I mean, actually, my first video was my big influence. Bobby Fischer and Sandy Carson, like,
Oh,
back
yeah.
when they,
Style
like...
Cats.
Yeah, Bobby Fischer was actually, I should correct myself, Bobby Fischer was in Domination.
Domination, yep.
In Style Cats, it was Sandy Carson and Lucky and the Fakies and stuff. And then, I mean, but for me, people was like, "Who's your favorite rider?" And I'm like, I really don't have one, because like I just like, I mean, right now, I would say my favorite rider is Rowie, which is funny.
Who rides absolutely nothing like you.
which is
and
why
has
he's
his
my
bikes.
favorite rider,
Okay.
because I watch him ride, and it's just like, holy fuck, this is just art. So like Joe Rich was my favorite rider growing up for a long time because I rode nothing like him,
Right.
and I just thought he was such a badass, brutal dude. On a bike, but like inspirational, he didn't inspire me, obviously, except for the dreads. But
See, when I think of my favorite rider, I usually think of the dude who, like, I have to, like, kind of be able to see some of myself or, like, something I
Yes,
might be able to
yes.
do. Like, with me and Edwin, like, I literally wanted to be Edwin.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
even now, like, if I could kind of ride, like, do some of the tricks he did in Can I Eat, that would be, like, the best thing I could think of, you know?
I think that the first animal video was kind of a game changer, but also,
time, yeah.
and this is gonna sound like I know everything, but we were already kind of like, a couple of us were already kind of riding like that, not nearly like what they were doing, but I mean, like, we already were like just feeble grinding shit and riding alleys and stuff. So like when it came out, it was more of an affirmation.
Right.
It was like, oh my god, this is like a direction we can take, and it helped us like see, like, 'cause we were just doing whatever. Like I remember when Mung did a fakie wall ride. I didn't know what it was. We'd never seen one. He just went up the wall and came down fakie. I was like, whoa, that's a new wall ride. And then like later we'd see that was like a thing, you know. So like for us, inspirations were definitely like we watched any video that came out, you know, but like my crew was like definitely the inspiration because like I just did tricks that I liked, and it was just like people would encourage me to do them. I mean, even like fast forwarding because I can't remember 2000 or 1998, but like riding with Grant, I remember like I was kind of stagnant, like feeling stagnant, you know how you get, and then like Grant's like, you should really just start, you know, doing a lot of those fakey tricks you used to do a lot, like cabinet grinds, and like I had just kind of stopped doing them for a few years, and then now it's like all I do again, and I was like, well, thanks, you know, because like he inspired me to do it, you know, like so that usually gets me amped.
But like pre-Animal One and like pre-Can I Eat, it's like probably, I don't know if it was like this everywhere, but at least in New England and stuff, it was looked at as kind of like uncool to be doing all these like tech grinds and everything and to be jibby. Like that was kind of looked down upon in favor of like pegless or like two pegs, and everybody wanted to flow. And dude, I don't think so anymore. I think it's like so painfully uncool to be like a flowy guy now, and like that's awesome. Like
I mean,
I would rather see somebody do tricks on a personal level, you know?
I think I definitely think it was. I remember feeling like shit because I couldn't like. I mean, I wanted to do everything, but I like sucked at like jumping. I was so bad at like jumping a box without like just like landing like an idiot. So like, I did what I was good at,
right?
And I think that's why I did it, and then that's why I think I embraced it so much, and that's why it was like an affirmation to see that, because you're right, like it wasn't the coolest thing, but at the same time, from 1995 to 2000 when Four Seasons skate park opened, all we did was ride street. We went to some skate parks, but Mung and I just feeble grounded shit and 180 up shit. We just kept watching Style Cats and Domination, and actually, ironically, Rick Moliterno's section in Domination,
hell yeah,
which is all street.
Right.
It was just rails and ledges, and I was in like half cabs. I was like, okay, well, that's what we're gonna do. Because that was actually probably one of the big inspirations. Was basically standard of all companies.
Hey, in Domination, you know how he does that like crazy long like feeble like rail feeble, and it's super curved.
Yep.
You know what? One of my friends pointed out to me back in the day though. He goes, he's slowing down using his front brake. I never knew.
I always thought that would be cool. I didn't notice it, but I always
he's doing
talked
it. He's
about
going
it.
wicked slow. Like if you would go way faster than that if you like didn't have a way to slow down, but it like totally makes sense.
I mean, why not?
Oh yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, if you were to do it now, people would shit on you because they'd be like, you're cheating. Like, could you imagine like somebody doing like a 20 stair like rail feeble? That one's different because it's curved. But could you imagine like going to like a rail feeble that like Kaczynski or fucking so and so did, and just using your front brake to do it slow? It's so funny. A feeble hard down like a round rail, and you're on it using the brakes to slow down. That's such a funny concept to imagine people using that to cheat.
5 years. Where are you going to be at?
5 years.
Drunk.
No.
Pegless.
I've been pegless twice for about 20 minutes, and it always sucks.
I go pegless when I get hurt.
No way. I can't.
No?
I can't do it.
I probably wouldn't now, just image-wise. I don't want people to be asking.
I just
about
hate the way my bike looks, but
nobody would shut up about it now.
Yeah, it would never.
Yeah, you would never hear the end of it if you took all
end.
4 pegs off.
When I say that, I did that when I was younger, though.
5 years from now, I mean, probably doing the same thing, but just in a different country.
Yeah.
And which is cool. I mean, I'm stoked on it.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, I mean, hanging out with friends, riding bikes, trying to progress in life and bike riding, and probably living who the hell knows where.
But do you have like an aspiration to like settle down and start a family? Or
No,
you,
no way.
No, not at all?
No
But
way.
how old are you again? 32?
33.
He was almost
I like that he has to ask like all the important questions. He has to look to Grant. To see if, like,
This is how it goes. Like kids will be like, "Yo, what's up with that frame? What's the specs?" I'm like, "Grant, what are the specs?" Because he knows all this because he's a savant. I'm about to go to him for my age. No, I'm 33. My wife and I definitely don't want kids.
Really, at all?
No, never. I was
Gonna
gonna.
get a tube side?
I was going to, but the money that I had saved for it had to fix my car and it blew up.
How much?
All of it.
How much is it? Like a couple grand?
No, well, a good one I think is like $1,000.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think
You know,
like
Nastasio said his cum is all watery. He said it doesn't feel as good to have sex either. Which,
I heard there are repercussions, and that's why I want to go to like a reputable guy through like a doctor, not like a
don't
walk-in.
do it in Mexico. Yeah.
So no, I want to get the tube
Nastasio.
side.
Yeah, don't go
I
to
always
Nastasio
assumed that it would not fuck up anything and that you just wouldn't be
That's
able to come
exactly
after.
what I thought.
But then, wait, you got it?
No, that's what I thought the
but
same
then when
as you, and then
Nastasio said it
Nastasio
was so
told us-
fucked up, I was like, Jesus, that never
There
even
is
crossed
like
my
a
mind.
decent rate, I think, and I mean, and I don't like surgery and stuff, so it freaks me out to think someone like snipping my balls, you know.
cutting your
Copeland makes it
balls
sound like
open.
it was like no big deal.
Yeah, he said Copeland told the story how he just went in, he's talking to the guy, he's like pulls his pants down, and he's like, let me just put a little freezes like the little section. I guess you slice a little hole and you snip, pull it out.
Copeland probably has a better connection with reality than Corey Nastasio, to be honest.
So I would venture to say that.
I don't really trust Nastasio's own opinion of his own
it might have been Nastasio's neighbor that did it one night. They were wasted.
If Matt Copeland told me, like, no, Corey Nastasio, his cum is thinner now and it's kind of watery, I would believe Copeland, but I don't really believe Nastasio about it.
No, yeah. So, no, fuck kids.
Fuck kids.
No.
Fuck the kids.
As a teacher, I have
Teacher.
I have many of them, and I love hanging out with kids, but I sure don't want my own. It's selfish.
That's interesting that you know that, though, because I couldn't see myself having kids now, but I kind of think that there's going to be a point in my life where that seems like the only thing to do.
Don't you feel like you would have already felt like you wanted kids by now?
Like, you're my age.
I'm 28, and I feel like if I wanted kids, I would have had some inclination that like maybe at some point in my life.
No, because I don't feel like comfortable yet. 32.
And how old are you?
40.
40.
I had to think about it. Though.
He has a kid, but he definitely has never occurred to him that he wanted a kid.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like when I'm like 45, to me, like a kid is like this weird, it's like I don't want a lawn right now. But I could imagine that in the future I'll probably want a lawn. Like it's a lot like a kid. It's something
and yard work.
You got to put a lot of time into it. It's a whole bunch of bullshit.
Well, it's interesting because
do
do you think because of your profession that has shaped your mental side of that? I mean,
both. I mean, it reaffirmed it. I kind of knew I didn't want kids selfishly, plain and simple. I know what it's like to be a parent, and watching parents and watching my friends have kids and having a dog even. And it's hard enough. But it's hard enough with a dog, to like live the life we live, to like go riding at 8 a.m. and say, "Oh, I'm gonna ride till midnight."
Okay, but when you're 45, you probably aren't gonna care that much about going riding.
I don't know.
Let's shoot a guess.
I used to think that, but I mean, Catfish is 40.
Yeah,
I'm still killing it. I'm still out here killing it.
Matt Copeland. Matt Copeland is going to be 40.
39.
And a couple.
And Matt Copeland is killing it.
Rides.
For real,
we go ride. He
killing it.
rides more than I do. Like he'll ride like 6 hours straight to the point of like exhaustion, and then he's a machine.
He is, and he's. Oh, man,
and as we get older and older, I start to think like, man, I can probably ride for a really long time. But you're right. At a less of a level, it'll be more of a hobby. Let's say when I'm 45. Yeah. But at that point, I don't want to have a teenager when I'm 60.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, like Grant's parents. How old was your dad when you were 15?
I don't know.
How old is he now?
Well, he's 69 years old right now.
69.
28.
Sounds like you made that up.
It's like my pops. My pops is like 80 now.
80?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So yeah, I mean, I just don't. Yeah, you were 55 when you were a teenager. I don't know. I know that to be a good parent, you have to commit your life to that child.
Yeah.
And as selfish as it sounds, I don't want to do that. And that would be a shitty parent thing to do.
But that to me is like when you're like 18, you're like, oh, I could never see myself getting married. It's like you get
that.
older and you start to like certain things that did not seem fun. Like Byron Anderson, he has a fucking lawn. And like when I first saw the lawn, I saw him watering his lawn, and I said to him, I'm like, wow. So you put a lot of fucking time and effort into your lawn, huh? Like just clearly like being like, wow, you're a fucking loser. I can't believe you're this old that you care about this lawn. He's like, you'll understand one day.
I mean, there
I
are
don't
things,
yet, but I could kind of.
There are things my wife and I do,
and Byron is always correct.
Well, yeah.
There are things my wife and I do that I'm like, wow, we're like adults.
The IKEA trips and the.
I've never been to IKEA. However. Never.
Just not one near.
There
where
wasn't one
lived?
near Milwaukee. You had to travel.
But yeah, but
all day.
I can't think of any examples. But I know like there are times where I'm like, wow, we are like grown ups, and then I'm like, oh, I'm 33. Like it took me till I was 33 to even think that I was a grown up. But that's the beauty of bike riding, though, right? Like, and it is weird because as I enter the world that she's a part of, I meet these people. Like her friends are like Harvard graduates. They're 25. They've got a master's from Harvard. They've lived in 6 countries, and they're awesome people.
Right.
And it's like, holy shit. And like, I've done a lot of stuff, but I mean, it's just, we're from different walks of life. But they always ask her, like, how old's your husband? And like, she's like 33 or whatever. And they just don't believe it. Cause I look like a teenager,
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's what's cool about BMX, but it's also like a weird perspective. So I think that's why another reason I don't want kids is like, I'm still a kid in my lifestyle.
Wait, but how old is she?
She's 28.
And she's dead set against the kid thing?
She's more than me.
See, that's really interesting because she's the one that is like more so biologically it's been determined.
And society pressures. I mean, she gets a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
But I also think in their position where she's got an awesome job,
travel the world,
like a kid would just.
I think it's way cooler. I'm just more so impressed that she was so certain of her belief that she wanted her soon-to-be husband or whatever to get a fucking
vasectomy.
Yeah, she's been on me about it for a few years.
Jeez, that's so crazy.
On the topic of kids and dumb kids, because being a teacher, a lot of times dealing with kids at skate parks, I sometimes facepalm myself
I know.
a lot. Like I weep for the future sometimes. Do you feel that having your pulse on the American education system?
I'm nervous. Plain and simple. I've ended up on a path that keeps. I've actually been in a lot of private schools, so I've been in like some like high buck schools where the parents are on their kids and the kids are like really good kids, and I'm not complaining. I love it. I ended up that direction, not in any purpose, but it is scary because you see kids at the skate park, but what's more scary is seeing my friends on Facebook say the same shit that I hear 13-year-olds say. You know, like just talking about politics, and I'm like, or they all this stuff recently about like the Constitution and American rights and all these things, and they say things, and I'm like, I teach my kids in 8th grade about this. Like, you first of all, I get it. It was 10 years ago, but I mean, come on, man. Like, this is why our country's pretty screwed up, because I don't want you to remember the stupid facts as an 8th grader. I want you to understand like critical thinking skills, and like the one thing that I teach my 8th graders all the time is if you see something on Facebook and it's not from a reputable website, Google it. Just look, and it's very simple. Look for a second source. That's like a very basic academic skill, right? But it's also a skill that human beings should have. And I see my friends on Facebook not do that, and I'm like, you believe this bullshit on the internet.
People our age didn't necessarily grow up learning that kind of stuff in school.
Right, and
know?
it's scary because I feel like that's, like, to bring it back to your question, am I scared for American education? In many ways, because I think, God, if kids that are 18 or 19 aren't getting that important fact, what the hell else are they learning in school? Because nothing, I mean, I don't give, kids are always like, what date did this happen? And I'm like, I don't care, look it up. Dates are irrelevant. What I want you to understand is why it happened and how we can not repeat history and how we can be better people. And that's like my main goal whenever I get a job interview is I want to tell them, what is your philosophy? And I'm like, I want kids to be better parts of this planet so we have good people on this planet. That's my goal as a teacher. And it scares me when I see kids at skate parks. And that's why we took BMX Dan Kruk under our wing, like, how many years ago was that now? 8 years ago? Because he, growing up, had a really good opportunity at being a douchebag. Because he grew up in an area and he had nobody good to look up to. And he already kind of burned, at like 14, he already had done some dumb stuff, and he would tell you that. And Grant and I hung out with him, and he, like, not that like Grant and I raised him by any means. He's got a lot of cool friends, a lot of stuff, but we were like, yo, we got to show this kid the ropes because he's talented, he's young, he's going to go somewhere with this, but we don't want to be a douchebag. And he's an awesome kid, but it was like, you know, he came from the neighborhood that I grew up in. He went to the high school that was like across the street from my high school. And, you know, so like I'm concerned, and as a total arrogant prick teacher, when I'm with kids on bikes, sometimes I try to do my job, I think, a little too much. Sometimes I'm like trying to teach them a little bit about being a better person. But, you know, sometimes it's arrogant and shitty, and I think some people resent it. But at the same time, it's like I'm trying to, like, that's, aside from BMX, I'm just trying to do better for this planet. That's like my good deed, because I'm a total prick in many other ways. Like, you know, I killed a whale once with a nuclear bomb. I mean, you know.
Just a whale? A single whale? It was a really, really small nuclear bomb.
No, but, yeah, so that's my good deed for the world, is that, you know, BMX, guys see him at skate parks and like, oh my God, what is wrong with you? You know? But if that's all we can do for kids in BMX is...
And when you're talking about the fact-checking thing, you see that the New York Times wrote an article about a fake tweet from that dude Sean King from the Black Lives Matter movement. So there's like a parody Twitter of him. And the New York Times, someone from the New York Times, I believe, wrote an entire article about how fucked up he is or whatever based on this tweet that was not a real tweet.
Check your facts.
I don't know if it's the New York Times.
Check
it's
your
somebody.
facts.
I want to.
There we go, kids.
Speaking of
if
checking
you're
your
still
facts.
listening, you're definitely probably, well, you might be 15.
We are 2 hours and 8 minutes into
God,
this
we got to
podcast.
chop this thing
This is
up.
the longest podcast we've ever done anything.
I just posted,
Ralph Sinisi was longer. Mastroni was longer.
and Ralph Sinise is way more important. I listened to that whole damn
I might
thing.
have totally fucked that up. It might have been that Sean King wrote a piece responding to a daily news article, which is also a big difference. I take back everything I said.
Speaking about giving the wrong information, that's what Adam is doing right here.
On the podcast.
Giving the
Check
wrong
your facts.
information.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was actually Sean Price.
Rest in peace.
No, it was BB King. It was
King.
BB King
B. Diddy.
and the Chuck E. Cheese mouse.
Shout out to, oh man, would you guys
I
like
know
to go
a-
to Chuck E. Cheese right now?
I know a
It's too
girl,
bad you can't.
an ex-student of mine was the Chuck E. Cheese mouse.
What, like in the mechanical band?
I knew that. I feel
That's
like
what Biz
Nardwar.
Biz
bringing up
hates
weird
the
shit.
fucking mechanical band.
Biz hates a lot of things.
Yeah, Biz is a very negative, horrible person.
He's gotta hate me right now. He's like, "Are you his ride?"
Who else would you like to shout out?
Oh God, I told Grant this is the part where I was like, "Oh shit, I should have had a list of." Oh man,
I'll just cut out the shout out.
no, this is the part I gotta say everybody's name.
You got to get it right.
No, I'll do it by scene because to me the shout out's important because I wouldn't be sitting where I am
Heck
if
yeah.
it wasn't for the cool people that I've been surrounded by and the cool brands have supported me. And I mean, shout out right away to Madeira for flying my ass out here.
Heck yeah.
So that I could do this and
What
so
up,
that
Copeland?
and definitely Matt Copeland because he is really Madeira profile and for allowing me to come out here and film and do stuff.
And he can't come. We learned that on this.
We don't know that.
No, he
I
just
think he's
they're
fine.
blank. They're blank.
He's
Yeah, I
fine.
think he's
He's
fine.
fine.
With it.
Yeah.
I don't
He
think
can
he
come.
has any negative side
Okay.
effects
Yeah,
from
he
the
said it's all good. And then
all
He
positive.
can't
Just no
reproduce
There you
with
go.
his cum.
Yeah.
His cum is useless.
yeah. shout out to Useless Cup.
Shout out to
Good God.
Profile in Madeira for advertising on the come up, and now I'm going to insult your sperm on air.
Shout out to Crandall and FBM too for supporting me, giving me some awesome stuff.
I don't know anything about Crandall's cum, but it's probably all
You got to get,
It
and I'm going to
smells.
say this. This is a direct thing to Crandall. You need to get Crandall out here.
I
He said
told
it's
him
gonna happen.
I told him we're gonna get him out.
Dude,
said he's
he
gonna come out
has
here this year.
so much to say.
Yeah.
And it's important and it's relevant, and you got to get him out here. Yeah. Shout out to him.
Love you, Steve.
And getting down to the nitty gritty of it. Shout out to everybody from the Midwest that like I grew up with that changed my life. I mean, those are the people that like. There's too many to list. There's 20 years of people to list, and recently shout out to all the dudes in DC that are kind of making me feel like I have a home out there, even though I'm never there right now. I'm like
Barack
in and out.
Obama.
My homie Obama.
Mm-hmm.
I see him all the time. We go to coffee. No,
Hey, you want to hear a fucked up mental image? Donald Trump sleeping in the White House. Imagine if that happens.
That's going to happen.
That would be so weird.
He's gonna be your neighbor.
Him in the same like bed.
there's a
you know?
Trump Tower like right across the street from a really famous spot down there. But yeah, and shout out to you guys for letting me do this and for letting me blab. I posted an Instagram. I was like, hopefully we'll get done in 4 hours or less. And here we are,
see?
hours in. But yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for letting me blab.
No, those have been great.
We've had some good times together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love a nice, easygoing podcast like this where you can just kind of babble and everything. How funny is it that a guy during a straight edge podcast, essentially, that my barber came in and tried to give us drugs?
I
Super drunk.
wish you guys could have seen what he was doing over here
It's
behind
very
the camera. It was
strange.
very, very strange.
He got down on his knees like it was like a police standoff. Like he was trying to make a joke, like acting like I was being a cop, I think.
But his elbow was going right in
And
front
I
of
was
the
like,
camera.
okay, no, yeah, because he tried to walk right in front of the camera. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, how do you not notice this camera on a tripod sitting in the middle of the room? It's like the only thing going on over here.
He was out of it, man. He was out of it. I can't wait to go party with him.
I wonder if he's still going to be at the bar because I do not feel like dealing with it. I got to get up early.
We'll have one drink with him.
I'll have a drink.
Yeah, that's what they all say.
What else do we need to? I think this is good. We talked about your history. We talked about
Madeira,
the state of
FBM,
BMX as a whole. We talked about
Wisconsin,
the straight edge,
The
all caps.
dreadlocks, the wifey, Nicaragua.
Oh, yeah, shout out to the wife for
Shout out to
sure.
the bae.
Yeah, there you go.
Be my sugar mama right now. I'm not even working right now.
Do you call her Bae?
No, I'm
No,
way
of
too old.
course
for that.
no.
Okay, because today in my group chat with
Way
my
too
parents
old.
and my sister and my sister's husband, I said something like my nephew there was a photo of him holding his toy elephant, and my sister said like that's his bae, and my mom goes, "What's a bae?" And I go, "It's a new thing that people say instead of husband or wife." And my mom goes, "So does this mean that Phil is my bae?"
Oh,
I think I had to ask Dan Kruk what Bay was when I first started seeing
Dan Kruk would be the person to ask.
Yeah, he's whenever there's like
ear to
something
the streets.
whenever there's something new and hip and young and like I pretty much get most of it. Whenever it's like it's usually probably rap based too because he
Right.
listens
I
to all
love-
that.
I love
he
that.
listens
He's
to
like
all
your
that-
Kid Ink.
And I'm like, all right,
Pitbull guy.
Dan, what is this? And he'd be like, oh, come on, Mike. And I'm like, I don't listen to your garbage ass music.
This is called a dab.
I had to ask that question. I asked Brandon Harris of all people. I was like, what's a dab? He's like, well, actually.
But did you see that thing where Lil Bow Wow was trying to explain what it meant online, and he goes, "Listen, a dab is is the most powerful form of marijuana. You hit it and you have to cough, so you go like this, which is not true. It's like completely unrelated meaning."
So I can't wait. I don't.
It's just a stupid.
So I didn't learn that?
Lil
It's just-
Bow Wow got eaten alive. No, why do they call that a dab anyway? I actually don't know, but I know that
It's
like the
just a
Migos
stupid-
and everybody do
It's
it.
just
Yeah.
a stupid dab. It's dance.
It's a weird
It's like
concept
the
that it's considered
nay-nay.
like a dance because it's really just a way to move your arm.
Yeah, well,
I feel like a dab should involve your legs.
Remember when the Chinese guy did the dab? and then threw up on the Mike
I think Dan
podcast.
Kruk would have an answer to this. He's
Shout
young.
out to Dan Kruk. I like the idea of you guys like saving him from like being a bad kid.
Oh, now he'll be pissed that I brought this up. Now he's gonna be like,
Really?
"Fucking Mike thinks he owns me."
Yeah, because young kids in BMX now are always like real concerned about their image. They're really concerned that like,
No, I'm gonna embarrass
what if
Dan.
I look bad?
I'm gonna embarrass Dan right now. The first time I met Dan, he came to the local bike shop that I worked part time at with a poster with me on it and made me sign it.
I think he talked about that. Yeah. He talked about it in his
I think-
podcast, didn't he?
Yeah, so
Because he
but-
knew about you from MySpace. And
Yeah.
shit.
Oh, jeez, MySpace.
I bet you killed it on MySpace. X straight edge, drug free. X no.
No.
sluts,
I
X-
hated. I was too cool for it. So, but I wanted to be involved. So I made a MySpace for my bike.
It was called Mike Hinkens' bike.
It was exactly called that. And
That's amazing.
Then
Who I'd like
last-
to meet rails, ledges.
that's exactly what it was, dude. It was exactly that.
His
There was
top
like
8
a-
was like grips. Cars.
It lasted for like 6 months before I just succumbed to
Right.
the social networking, and then I was milk drinking for a long time,
Yeah.
which is a good one because I love milk.
Well, you're lucky that you were
love
able to
milk. You're
get
from
your actual
Wisconsin, though.
birth name because a lot of like I was thinking about that today. How there's probably so many people who like when they started Instagram picked like some really
Oh.
stupid name and didn't get their real birth name.
Right here.
And totally because you have
Right
a catfish
here.
versus thug.
Right
because
here.
I bet you wish you at least had catfish so you could
Yeah.
have it synced with Twitter,
My
right?
Twitter,
but that's
yeah.
that's taken.
It was catfish. Catfish was taken.
I have been really strong about that. Like as soon as a new social network comes out, I immediately take my name
Yeah.
right away.
But the
And
thing
even
is
if I don't
that
use
like
it.
you're like you don't know that a social network is going to matter until it already
That's why
kind of matters.
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like.
I came to Snapchat super late, and by came to it, I mean I put my name on it, but I don't actually use it.
But see, now with every single like service, it's pretty much like you log in with Facebook. So I don't know if we're really going to be
Yeah.
making that many usernames in the future.
And
maybe?
shout out to my Instagram. I'm going to shamelessly
Yeah,
plug at Mike Hinkens.
Right here. It's right here on the
at
screen.
Mike
At-
Hinkens.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Follow me.
Tend to hold this thing up.
yeah.
At Grant Castelluzzo.
It's amazing. Every day I post 300 or 400 clips. It's
Really?
just yeah.
Do it. That's the way to get followers, man. The kids want content.
Yeah.
Shout out to Kevin Robinson for warning us before he posts a photo. He does the way back Wednesdays.
Look, the Grant is
Robinson warning you about it.
No, because on
Like,
Instagram,
why do you talk to him this much?
K-Rob, you could maybe say that he doesn't necessarily understand social networking that well, but he like will post like an old school photo on every Wednesday, but then he'll post multiple things warning you that he's going to post the photo coming up.
Get ready.
It's so
It's not
funny.
a personal warning. It's just like if you follow.
It's not a
I
trigger
thought he was
alert.
like
You
text
better like
messaging
this
you.
fucking photo.
He is intimidating.
A warning.
If
no.
you have ever been the victim of rape or sexual abuse, please do not look at the Instagram photo that I'm going to be posting in 4 hours because it could trigger you and it could cause you to...
That's K-Rob.
No, but we're suggesting that maybe it
What
would
the
be like...
fuck are you talking about?
No, we talked about this the other day. It's funny that like K-Rob warns you before his Instagram post.
He doesn't do anything like that, though. He's just warning you.
No, I was just taking it to another level.
Take it
yeah.
to that.
Jesus.
Not,
But you ever hear
we're
about
at
the trigger
level
alerts?
below.
You ever hear about the
Reference
trigger
Jeff K.
alert thing in like colleges and stuff? There's like a whole thing where it's like if there's like a play or they're going to play a movie in class and there's like a rape scene, they have to warn you beforehand. Oh, there's a rape scene in this, and we just want to warn anybody in case you want to leave because it might trigger you. And it's like kind of considered funny because it's like all these college kids are not going to be like prepared for the real world where like people
There's
talk about things and do things and nobody cares that you're going to be
Good God.
offended. Yeah.
have
How
a
many
pretty-
triggers does our podcast
Oh
set
my
off?
A
God.
pretty ridiculous Kevin Robinson story that you will definitely want to hear. I went to Woodward and I was a camper, and there happened to be what I can only assume to be a mentally challenged person in my cabin. And
It was Kevin Robinson.
no. He was not even bordering on like being functioning. I don't know how he was there really, but like he couldn't really handle like the structure of camp.
Was his name
At
Bizzle?
Woodward?
Was his name Bizzle by any
At
chance?
Woodward.
Yes, at Woodward.
Okay.
He's in my cabin.
Shout out to
He had clearly never ridden a bike before.
This just sounds like Bizzle.
He had an SE quad angle.
Bizzle.
We're getting closer.
And he, oh man, so he was already a mess. This was like the first day before you get like, you get tested into your group or whatever. And I'd already like had 2 encounters with this kid and like knew like, oh, something's wrong with him, whatever, right? So we're in this gigantic group and Kevin Robinson is giving us like this speech about like, where are your pads and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like he's just, being whatever. And this kid is just fucking talking because he doesn't understand the social cue of like someone telling us rules. You know what I mean? And Kevin Robinson Kevin Robinson gets super pissed and he's like, why don't you shut up? Are you retarded? And I'm like, there's like, whatever, like 50, 60 people there. And I'm like, yes. Yes, like just thinking like stop even mentioning this, like he clearly is. But like obviously Kevin didn't know, the guy's like fucking 35, 45 feet away and he just hears him like murmuring, nonstop. And I was just like, oh my God. Like that was the most awkward I've felt because the kid clearly is mentally disabled.
So that's like why when it's like considered impolite to use the word retarded in modern conversation, that's
Perfect
why.
scenario.
I say it all the time, but that's why.
I always yell at him for saying that.
Yeah. I'm an ableist. That's what they call you if you say
You're a trigger man. You are a triggerer.
I'm the trigger man. All right, we should probably do the goodbyes now. We should probably say goodbye. This is 2 hours and 20 minutes. I'm proud that we did a long ass podcast.
I knew it was going to be good.
I
knew it was Mike. He's
Anytime you get a talker on the show, you might as well go long.
He's inspiring.
I hope.
Next time we get Nastasio in here, let's do 2.5 hours with him.
I want to see his dick and his balls next time.
You showed your dick to him.
I did.
But not Hinkens.
No, I do. I'll show it to you.
He's engaged.
He's married.
Or married.
Yeah,
Sorry.
But I mean, I've seen a few.
You don't think your wife would get mad at you for looking at a dick? That's a pretty strict relationship.
No.
Okay. This has been Come Up TV. If you stuck around this whole time, tweet at us, Instagram at us. Let us know that you're a hardcore fan at Adam22, at Cavish VS Thug, at Grant Castelluzzo,
Grant C BMX.
Grant C BMX. That's right here.
At Mike Hinkens.
It's hard to remember sometimes. All right. Thank you to
guys.
everybody.
Thank you,
subscribe to us on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes. We love you all. If you want some candy, there might be a couple gummy bears left.
Gibbity bop a doo bop a dee bop bop. The Come Up TV.
Bop, 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 bop.
Staring at him for like 2 hours.
When the barber came and got all this distracted, you could have snuck in.
I know.
The barber.
Damn. Remember when in Argentina they told us they fucked their barbers?